Welcome, everybody, to a land of magic and smiles. I could never have sex with a K-pop girl. Like, even if I ever got the chance to have sex with a girl from a K-pop group, which, first off, I don't have the look to be able to attract one of those people, I can't perform like that. I would be such a disappointment. They'd be doing, like, twerking moves and spinning around, doing the hair flip and everything, and I'd be sitting there like, oh, man, I finished before you even got on top of me. Yeah, I was thinking about that today, and I was like, somebody had said something in something that I was listening to, very descriptive, but I was thinking like, oh man, you know, I really do enjoy listening to a couple of K-pop girl groups. I'm very, very attracted to several of the members, but even given the chance, I just couldn't do it. I could not keep up. I was trying to think about like what would they do, like that, just, you know, standing over you and they just do the most wild moves, and I'm like, I'd be sitting there like laying on the bed on my back, you know, full mast. They just get over the top of you and they start doing some like weird, you know, inverted leg up crab walk thing, and I'd be like, I spent all my energy taking my pants off, so I don't know how you're doing what you're doing right now.
See, part of my problem is that I don't even really know much of anything about any of this K-pop stuff. So, I'm kind of like when you describe that, I'm just thinking about like some grudge shit where it's
yeah, kind of
just this small Asian person just doing a fucking 360 with their neck, and then just joints going in places where joints ought not to be, and then just like
yeah, like,
oh my god.
It was a wild thought. It was definitely really weird. Hey, what do you think the first person to ever see lightning and hear thunder thought? I just think of how big of a sound that is. Nothing else in the history of this person has made that sound, and all of a sudden it starts raining, and then it's like in the middle of the nighttime, and then for just a split second it's day again, and you're like, oh, gotta wake up, or not, and then bang, and you're like, was I supposed to wake up?
Fucking, I guess I'll go milk a parakeet.
I don't know what any of this means. Like, there was no religion back then, so they couldn't even say, God's mad at me. They're just sitting there fucking confused, and all of a sudden something 50 feet away is on fire. It's the first time they've ever seen that in their life. I guess there's a tribe that still lives like that doesn't even... They haven't even created fire yet, so they actually wait until lightning strikes a tree down, and then they just cut down trees and add to the fire until it's like perpetually going.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah. They're one of those tribes that like kill people on sight when you go and try to visit them. And I guess what wound up happening was, back before they were so violent, a couple of British, I don't know what you call them, envoys? People trying to make contact with them. Is that the right word?
Yeah, close enough.
They would go and they would take a couple of people back to whatever land they came from and be like, hey, this is what industry looks like. Wouldn't you want these things? And then they would go back and bring those things to the tribe, and then the tribe would be like, oh yeah. And so the British would come back and do the same thing over and over again until two of the people that they took got sick. They came back and wiped out like 10% of the entire tribe, and now these people are just murderous because of their ancient stories of, yeah, they came and they brought sickness, so anybody that comes to the island has to be terminated.
Wow, that's wild.
I fucking love that stuff. That's such a cool thing to learn about.
Yeah, it's like, you gotta kind of feel bad for anybody who doesn't know that kind of thing, where it's like they just kind of, they're out on a safari or whatever, and then they wander in, and it's like all these natives just come up like, hey, yeah, hey, but it's not actually like but it's not a greeting like we would think it is. It's like, nah, it's not gonna go well.
Yeah, and I mean, think about living like that, where you live on such a small, remote island, and you have to feed a certain amount of people. Like, wonder what their diet is like. Because, I mean, they probably eat a lot of, like, lizards and stuff like that, and they probably fish quite a bit, but I can't imagine that they haven't they haven't kind of wiped the island of terrestrial animals. Yeah, it's got to be really nice to know like where your food comes from, because there's a lot of people out there that are confused about like where steaks come from and where processed like meats come from and where hot dogs come from. Like I see so many people constantly talking about where do hot dogs come from, what are the hot dogs made out of, like where is, you know, what else is in a hot dog. And I'm like, I don't care where the hot dog comes from. I want to know where the hot dog goes. I want to know the end goal of that meat byproduct.
Well, it kind of goes in one of 3 holes.
Belt.
And I'm getting the dial-up signal. I'm trying to figure out where I want to take this.
He's buffering everybody.
Blue screen. I told you I am not. Like, there are times where if you catch me in just the right way, I will be an absolute monster when it comes to the improv comedy, and then just when I'm trying to do it, it just nope, nothing. Which is kind of like, I mean, now you see, I feel like it's not even funny if I say just like my sex life. It's like, no.
If you could rename one object, what would you name? What would it be, and what would you rename it to?
I could rename one object.
Yeah.
What would it be, and what would I rename it to? See, my impulse is to take something deadly serious and then rename it to something just really silly that you can't help but say without, like, you can't help but giggle when you say it.
Yeah, that was like, I was originally thinking gun and do like Flurple Smash. Like, it is my right as an American citizen to own and fire my Flurple Snatch. Alrighty then.
Or like, vagina, right? And then just rename it to like, Gary.
Like in South Park.
It's like my Gary, my choice.
So.
Oh yeah, fuck my Gary.
Hey baby, send me pictures of your Gary.
What are you doing? Oh, you know, just knuckle deep in my Gary.
Knuckle deep. No one says that.
I know. Kind of like nobody says moose knuckle, but people really should, because it's just.
Oh,
it's one
I
of those
almost
words.
stabbed a dude in the neck over a moose knuckle in my fucking high school. Because for some... Oh, and you know who it is? He's one of my best friends now. I forgot about that.
I am... Okay, so I'm batting like 4 out of 4 for like epiphanies that I've given you today.
Dude, so... Oh my god, it's Ryan. He used to... We went to a tech high school, and when we were going through the exploratory, we were both in electrical. And electrical had these different cubbies where each student would stand in their own cubby, and they would have like a pegboard in front of them, and you would have to put screws into something. Like, you'd have to screw things in and like build a circuit, and then screw in like a light switch and a light bulb, and it'd have to actually be able to power the light bulb. And so they taught you how to build that stuff. And this kid would stand... Wait, was it? I don't even know if it was Ryan. It might not have been, but I think it was. But he would stand in his cubby like three sets down from me, and he'd just go, Shanus Moose Knuckle. And like they were trying to make fun of me and everything, and I don't know why. Like him and I were in diapers together in the same daycare, and then in high school he was such a dickhead. And then last year, my buddy Kevin, I went to his band practice spot, and he's like, "Oh, you got to meet my friend Ryan. Dude walks up to me, and he goes, "Hey, how's it going? My name's Ryan." And I'm like, "You fucking know me." And he looks up, he goes, "Shane fucking," and I go, "Ryan fucking." I gave him a big hug, and he's like my best friend again. But so he was doing that for the entire week, and on the Friday, I took the screwdriver I was using, and I ran up into his cubby, and I pressed it up against his throat. I'm like, "Go ahead, do it again. Go ahead." I'm leaning on the back end of it with my chest. I'm like, "Oh, one more fucking time. One more time, and I'm just gonna push forward. That's all I'm gonna do."
That sounds like something you'd do.
That's bullying for you. People need to understand that, like, yeah, sometimes you can get a good laugh out of bullying, but there's taking it way too far.
Yeah, it's just a dick thing to do. Like,
so, yeah, no, making fun of somebody just a little bit, you get your laugh, you move on, and then you go up to him and you go, hey, man, that was a joke. Notice how I don't have any hair on my legs? You should make a joke about that, or some stupid shit like that. I don't fucking know. But you don't torture somebody. Like, it's
yeah.
I think that, listen, I know we have a big problem with bullying in this country, but I think that a little bullying is healthy for everybody, because it kind of points out things that you otherwise wouldn't change. You wouldn't have the motivation to change.
Yeah, like some ribbing is healthy.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah. If you want to call it ribbing versus bullying, because ribbing is...
Bullying implies malice.
It doesn't even matter if it's got malice behind it, dude, because as long as you don't go too far, because you can bully with malice to a point and help somebody. Not intentionally, obviously, but you can be like, oh, man, look at him and his fat fucking neck. That dude over there looks like a thumb, and then you stop. Like, then you move on to talking about something else. Then the dude knows, like, oh man, that really hurt my feelings. But I do have a fat neck. I don't want people to say that anymore. I wonder if there's anything I can do about the fat neck that I have. But obviously, it's not always going to lead to that. I just think that, don't torture people, but it's okay to make fun of people a little bit, you know? I mean, not everything has to be done over the top.
Yeah, I mean, we have, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if you ever, I think you left my Discord server before came around.
I haven't been in group Discord servers in ages.
Yeah, he's a good kid, but he comes from a very broken environment. And, like his dad died of cancer when he was 10, and his mom is just she is just such a negligent social justice warrior type. And, everything is feminism, and it's, and the right is so evil and racist, and, and you're stupid and ignorant and evil and racist for believing in anything they say, and yada, yada, yada. And she, she just kind of, she won't let him go to therapy. She tries to, she's always just tried to just drug him, that kind of shit. Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, this kid actually, he's not really a kid. He's 21, but compared to us,
Yeah, old timers there.
We're in the almost 30 club.
I am tomorrow. 27 tomorrow.
Good job. Look at you doing a slide out of the old Gary.
I had a good birthday thought yesterday. Make a birthday card and it says, "Happy birthday! You survived another year." Why? But yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I was drinking water and anyway. So I mean, he's had a bad upbringing, and so he doesn't really have much in the way of social skills. Mm-hmm. He tends to be very blunt. Does not read cues well. But he has a tendency to just be kind of a dickhead sometimes. Like not mean, not trying to cause trouble, but he's just has this way about him where he can just be kind of a dickhead. And he'll just say dumb shit, or he'll be very bullheaded, or he'll, that kind of thing. Yeah. Not with any kind of negative intent. It's just he doesn't know any better. And we'll rib him for it. We'll goof on the fact that we'll goof on the fact that he can be kind of an idiot sometimes. But it's not anything at least as far as I'm concerned. Or when I do, I'll just be like, yeah, being a dumbass. What else is new? But I won't actually I won't take it any further than that. I'll just be like, yeah, no, that's kind of your thing. Well, we kind of expect that. But then there are other people who are just like, we had this guy, and he was kind of on the older side. He was in his 30s. He was, I forget which one of the armed forces he was in. I want to say he was a Marine. And he, on some level, was okay. And then on other times, like, he could not stand it. But he was a dick about it. Like, it got to the point where he was, like, making fun of him for having, like, for being autistic kind of thing.
That's not cool.
Yeah, like he really likes Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah, not a bad game.
Like, he really likes it. Everybody else fucking hates it. Like, Shig is always giving him a hard time. Rich is always giving him a hard time. I'm sitting there, like, I didn't get back to the playthrough yet, but I started to play it again to see if I could get the Platinum Trophy and, like, really objectively assess the game and be like, hey, is this actually a good game or a bad game? And I have no particular qualms with it so far. It was just very hard to do a stream of that because it was so, it's just trying to follow a story and listen to people talking and read comments. It's like, but...
Yeah, I can't do, like... I hated being in parties with people when they... like, would be streaming, and I'm glad my headset broke because now I can't do PS4 parties. But I would hate that because it would literally just be trying to talk to somebody and they go, oh, well, look at this item description. Oh, look at, I picked up a box. Oh, well, I gotta move this around in my inventory. I'm like, I'm trying to tell you about a very important thing that happened as your friend, and all you can do is sit there and, like, I'm on my stream, so I have to dictate everything that I'm doing. And I'm like, leaves.
Yeah, that's why I like the. That's why I kind of like having a different style to streaming. Like, I don't do that kind of thing. I actually like. I try to have the conversations while I'm doing something else. Like, I might get distracted or have to be like, oh, hang on 1 second, I gotta focus on this, or I might focus more on the conversation than the game at some points. But actually, that reminds me of one time last year, actually, I was doing, for Halloween, I was playing Corpse Party, and we actually, and I didn't download the video, I completely forgot to, but, we had an hour-long conversation. I stopped playing the game and was just sitting in the stairwell in the game, and we were talking about childhood trauma. Like, it was actually a really good conversation. And so that was just, me in the stream chat, and that was I like doing that kind of thing when it comes to streaming. I don't like the awkward, I'm here to be entertaining by doing the exact same thing everybody else does. It's just like, that's not me. So I'm more like, okay, you come here for me, So and I'm here for you. So it's a symbiotic thing where I'm entertaining you by talking to you while you keep me company while I play the game, kind of thing, Yeah. So anyway, but that was kind of a tangent. But basically, like, likes Final Fantasy 13, and so everybody gives him a hard time over that, and I'm like, I'm in the middle. I'm like, well, I don't hate it. I have no particular reason to look down on the game. I think it's fine. It might be linear, but linearity is fine if the story, justifies it. Kind of like Skyward Sword is very linear, but the story is fantastic. And this guy, it got to the point where, like, a month ago, he was, like, just being really mean-spirited. Like, he said something to the effect of, they were talking about Final Fantasy 13, and he goes, hey, aren't you autistic? And she's like, well, yeah. And he's like, well, that explains a lot.
That's mean.
Yeah, like, really? Did you really fucking just go there? And then it got to the point where I was sleeping when this happened, but apparently they got into a thing where he just could not accept anything Fish was saying about the existence of objective quality in art, and he got so triggered that he left the server after slinging insults at the kid, and he was like, oh, this whole channel is just your show, and it's like, it's not his fault or my fault that out of 50-something people, he's one of the only maybe 4 or 5 who ever fucking say anything.
Yeah.
Like, why do you join a Discord server if you're just never going to say anything?
Yeah, and then, dude, I have this one server that I'm an admin of now that I'm pretty much just security for the server now.
Mm-hmm.
And people will literally come in and be like, "Hey, everybody," and 30 seconds later just go, "Dead server?" Like, shut up, dude. We're all in our mid-20s, 30s. Some people are in their 40s. We work.
Yeah.
We can't just jump in at, like, 8 a.m. And this is a server for a lot of people in Switzerland, Sweden, Norway, Finland, stuff like that. But so I'll wake up at, like, 8 o'clock, and it'll be, like, 4:30 there. A lot of the people in there are, like, barbacks. So they work nights. And people would just be like, "Oh, please don't tell me I just joined a dead server." And it's like, we have 4,000 members. Everybody fucking comes in here and then just leaves. Comes in, leaves, comes in. We've had 12,000 people join the server. Do you know how difficult it is going to work and trying to... while I'm sleeping, you guys are just waking up, and I get called in for security... Like, I get tagged for security constantly in the middle of the night and woken up because people are doing stupid shit. We get bots that spam a whole bunch of gore porn and stuff like that. And we have channels. We have channels where you can do whatever the fuck you want. But in the main channel, you don't do that. So people contact me, and the other day we had like, the whole server is about, like, hanging out on voice chat and drinking together. And, like, playing drinking games and stuff like that, and making friends over a couple of drinks. We had this one dude who's just like, "Just had a ton of drinks. I'm driving home right now," and then we didn't hear from him for like a half an hour. So somebody hit me up, and I was like, "Oh fuck, this is one thing I can't do anything about."
Yeah.
And we haven't heard from him since.
Jesus Christ.
We don't know what the hell happened. He's still in the server, but people just ghost all the time just because.
Yeah, and this is the kind of thing where it's just like, look, I have no control over whether or not someone wants to engage. You know,
yeah.
If you join the server and then just never fucking say anything, and it's only, you know, 1 or 2 other people out of 50 that are saying anything, you can't get annoyed with those 2 people when they're the only ones saying anything. It's like, of course this is technically his show in this channel because he's the only fucking one who says anything.
Yeah, leave him alone. He's looking for conversation, and you're looking for conflict. Dude needs a friend.
Exactly. And yes, exactly. Like, and this is what I've said. Like, okay.
And I will censor people over that. I will kick people for stupid shit like that.
Yeah, I try to be very.
I know you do, but I'm not. I don't have the patience for that. If you want if you want to live your life like that, go to a different fucking server. You're banned from mine.
Yeah, my rule is basically just don't be an asshole. Like, you know, if you're an asshole and you're here to cause trouble and give people grief, then just go away. Otherwise, like, look, conflict is inevitable. People are going to butt heads. Yeah. And especially in a free speech zone, I am an absolutist when it comes to that. I don't censor. The only thing I ask is, like, don't trigger my OCD with anything. So, like, don't post anything with military camouflage. Don't post anything with, like, Anita Sarkeesian's face or anything like that, you know? Just stuff like that.
Seems less of OCD and more of some other compulsive thing.
No, it's literally just, ew, gross, I can't stand looking at these things, and now everything that has been in front of the screen is contaminated and I have to clean, so... It's just like for my sake, just don't do that. Yeah.
I get where that leads to.
Okay. Yeah, so anyway, but like even right now, like mental images trigger it, so like I have not been able to actually like feel like my nose or my mouth is properly clean for a long time, and I have to constantly wipe my mouth, and it's gross. Anyway, but so like the whole thing... Like, I'm very much like a free speech. I have a fucking communist in my server, and he's a moral nihilist who, like, anyway, I tolerate him. I don't really like him, but, you know, it's like, well, you're allowed to be here. You know, you're not picking fights, you're not starting shit, you're not,
exactly,
you know, being, you know, malicious, so, whatever. I think your ideology is horrendous, but whatever. You know, but, like, and even he was kind of jumping behind, you know, like, getting on side, like, no, like, look, that's just the kid is just he needs a friend. That's what he's looking for, like, especially where he's coming from. And I try to explain this to people, and even Shig has this, I feel, irrational hatred of the kid. Like, yeah, when came around like 2.5 years ago, he was an asshole. Like, he was a bratty, entitled, ignorant, like, why shouldn't the government do everything for me? Socialism is the way to go because I don't want to work, so why should I have to? That kind of shit. And he credits me with changing his mind on a lot of things. And, like, I didn't jump down his throat and fight with him.
Weird flex there.
No, like, literally, he does say that. Because I didn't jump down his throat and fight with him. It was just, well, why? Right? I actually, like, I challenged what he had to say, and I challenged his attitude, but not in a confrontational way. I wasn't, like, aggressive. I didn't threaten to ban him or anything like that. I was just like, can you fucking not? And, and then when we would kind of go back and forth a little bit, and he eventually softened his positions a lot. And he's a much, much, much more tolerable person now. And, matter of fact, he actually said that, a while back, he actually said that I'm like a stepdad to him. And that's something I take very seriously. Like, that's a big deal, Especially when, like, what I try to do...
Just don't let him get stuck in the dryer.
No, but, like, I try to do, for people what Stefan did for me, I try to be that kind of paternal voice of reason, in a sense.
Now all you need to do is learn how to work a hammer. You'll be a real dad.
God damn it.
Oh, I know exactly what that one felt like. I hate those.
You have to do
that one sharp cough to get that out.
The smoker's cough.
Yeah. It's the Joey Diaz voice causing cough.
It's kind of, yeah. Oh, I fucking hate it.
It's just like, Joey, please just cough a little bit. How about you shut the fuck up, you cocksucker?
Yeah, but no, like, and I've said a little bit that I kind of see a little bit of myself in, like, I used to be a little bit more like the way he is now. I would never consider myself to have been anywhere near what he was before, but I did, some of that less nuance, more, less scalpel, more sledgehammer kind of approach to things, and being, having the commitment to truth and reason and all that kind of stuff, but not really knowing how to use it properly. And then having to just develop that through, in some cases through conflict, but in other cases through just...
Yeah, because you realize what didn't work as well. Mm-hmm. So, like, when somebody taught you, like, you're sitting there swinging around a sledgehammer and somebody comes along and they go, here, try this. And they give you the scalpel. And then they walk away. Or they just give you the tool and you have to learn how to use the tool.
Right. And so that's
you gave him the tool.
With him. Right. That's the approach I've taken with him. And I'm not his dad. So I don't sit there and, try to parent him, but at the same time I'm like, come on, like if I see something getting a little out of hand, I'll be like, hey, come on, let's tone it down a little bit, let's walk back and, like, what can we learn from this? And other people don't seem to understand that, and so they act like I'm coddling him and giving him special treatment, but I'm like, no, I'm literally just, I see that he has no malice.
And this is the only time that conflict happens where people are all jumping on one person constantly.
Right, yes, like this chick, this guy. And
it's so weird that it's because there's somebody, the cosplayer that I work with, one of her mods is...
Okay.
And, like, you said, that's the only time I've heard that word, and then you say... And I'm like, I have never heard that word before, but these two times, so I relate the two of them together mentally for some reason.
Yeah, no, this guy's name was, like...
No, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but yeah, and it was like, there were times where he was cool, but then at the other times it's just like, can you not be such a self-righteous dickhead?
Yeah.
And I know I have a little bit of an emotional bias towards anyone who's been, in that kind of, like, in the armed forces type of thing. I think a little bit more negatively, but it was just kind of like, there was no need for the attitude, and where he blocked the kid, but then he got mad at me because I said, hey, can you unblock him? He didn't deserve that, Yeah,
like... but I also think that you should allow I mean, we are in America. You should allow people to block whoever they want. And
I do. I just ask that people have a good reason, not just being, just not be petty. Because one of the biggest problems I have with the internet nowadays, especially, is people are so fucking block happy.
Yes. I get where you're coming
weaponized.
from. I get where you're coming from, but I don't know, because like recently I keep thinking about all of these people who are just like, oh no, you're interfering with my freedom by doing this, you're interfering with my freedom. And I started thinking about what is freedom to the American people, and the freedom is basically the ability to do what you want with your time.
As long as you're not hurting anybody else, yeah.
No. You can freely do any of that stuff. You can hurt whoever you want. But you have to understand that there's consequences to literally everything that you do while you're exercising your freedom. You can hurt people as much as you want, but you're gonna get caught by the police and you're gonna go to jail because we've set laws in place that say, hey, we understand your freedom, but please don't do this because that interferes with somebody else's freedom.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of the idea. There's a difference between literal ability kind of freedom and like moral freedom. Like, no, this is not something you are allowed to do even though you're capable of doing it.
And what is given to us as American citizens is literal freedom.
Yeah.
What is imposed on us is moral freedom, which I'm totally okay with,
Yeah,
but,
I'm.
So, but before we continue here, we spent about 20 minutes on name dropping. I don't know if you want to keep going and keep that in there because we're defending somebody, or do these people watch your YouTube stuff? Do you drop your YouTube videos into the server?
I usually do, yeah. I mean, definitely watches my stuff.
Did you drop the last one in there?
Yeah, I did. He actually commented on it. He had some stuff to say about what you had to say, but I figured. Yeah, I did say that if he wants to do a call-in, I'll have you pop into the server and we can. Because what I was actually thinking of doing was having the call-ins done through a role-based voice channel in the server.
What's that mean?
So, like, only people with a certain role can access that server. So, like, me and you would always have the role, but then, like, I would add and revoke the role to other people depending on who's going to be in the call, Yeah. And that way, it's just, like, it's not the hassle of having to add people as friends on Discord to create a private call and all that kind of stuff.
Okay,
but then it's not just a total free-for-all,
Yeah, so if you want to send me an invite to the server again, I'll just mute the server because I don't take part in any of that kind of stuff. The only groups that I have, let me see. I have the one I'm admin of. I have Allie's D&D one, I have my D&D one, and the cosplayer that I work with. But then, I have one channel that's called For Folks, because one day on the one that I admin for is called Pass Out Drunks. And we were sitting there trying to have a conversation about something, and this one kid, Jacob, was ridiculously defending his point on something, and we're like, yeah, man, we agree with you. And he's, yeah, and I just don't think that this should happen, I don't think that this should happen, and he's from Finland, and they're fucking stubborn. And we're like, yeah, no, we get it. We're still trying to talk, though, and he goes, and then this, and then this, and then this. I'm like, Jacob, yeah, okay, please, we're gonna move on. And he goes, okay, because I just think that this. And so we're all sitting there in the voice call, and I just whistle into the microphone, and everyone's like, Shane, stop it. And I'm like, Jacob, you keep doing what you're doing, I'm going to keep whistling into the microphone. He's like, I'm just trying to tell you that. And I whistled again, and then I left the call. And then the other three people that were in the call, I made another channel and invited them to that so that we could finish our fucking conversation.
Yeah.
Because Jacob's not a bad person by any means. It's just that particular situation was ridiculous.
Yeah, like, and that's kind of the thing where it's like, can be very ignorant, but he's not a chode, Like, he's just kind of, he's just dense, and he needs guidance, and that's what I've been trying to do for him, and I try to explain that to these people, where I'm like, like, look, this is where he's coming from. Like, he doesn't know any better. He doesn't have these skills that you expect him to have. And if you think that you are so superior to him that you can get upset with him for not having these skills that he was never given the opportunity to learn.
I mean, they can definitely get they can definitely get upset, but you can't act on that.
Right, well, this is the thing. It's like, look, I understand getting frustrated with him. I get frustrated with him sometimes because he can be really dumb sometimes. But you know what? I don't sit there and give him shit for it and then act like he's a bad person for it.
Yeah, because imagine that you go into a new hobby, right? You're like in the middle. So let's say you're trying to learn how to play Magic the Gathering, right? And you're in the middle of a card shop and you figure, hey, they're gonna do a tournament on this day. Maybe I can go and I can participate in the tournament and I can learn from some people. And you let everybody know beforehand, like, hey, I'm gonna need to play in the lowest point in this tournament because I do need to be walked through this game. I need to learn it, or like you're just going for game night, and you're like, hey, everybody, I know there's no stakes here, but I just need to learn it. And then you haven't had the chance to learn it, and then you're asking like, okay, so I have 7 cards, and I need to put down a land, and then I play this. Well, and then somebody goes, oh, you didn't tap your land! You should fucking know better! You should fucking know that you can't do this until you have 3 lands! It's like, guy, this is my first time picking up the game.
Right, like, and this is the thing, is like, they have this moral outrage, like, he's being an asshole for being ignorant, and I'm like, no, look, you can get frustrated that he's saying something really dumb or being pig-headed about something, but notice how different he is with me than he is with you. And if you're so superior to him that you can somehow look down on him and be condescending and
why can't
mock,
you teach?
Then why are you contributing to the problem? You should know better. You should be able to step back and look at this objectively and say, okay, here's how I need to change my approach. No, what you're doing is you're just butting heads with him, egging him on, upsetting him more, making him be more thick-headed because he now sees this as a fight.
Yeah, and that's, oh man, so that's one.
It pisses me off.
I know. Take a step back for a second, because
yeah, I know. I know.
I don't want you to blow out your microphone or anything, but that's one thing that I've learned over the last couple of years is, like, how bullheaded I used to be when it came to anything. Now I'll just tell you, no, I support murder. Fuck that. I don't need to defend myself. Fuck you. But now the idea,
your SJW phase was pretty bad.
See, the thing is that when somebody enters into that headspace, all they want to do is create an equal space for everybody to not be impeded with. Like, some people, they go to the extreme.
Acting on feeling.
Yes, but it's good-minded because it starts off that way.
Yeah, so like so the whole social justice warrior thing. It's I think in a lot of cases it's well intentioned, but people who don't know any better, even though they mean well,
it's extremist.
It becomes extremist because they're acting on emotion, not reason, and it's very difficult to reason with someone who's not thinking clearly.
Yeah, and what drives them to act like that is other people who are acting on feeling. Like, a lot of the things that people get upset about is, like, gun control and stuff like that, where, and like, police brutality, because I worked with a couple of guys who were so pro-police, they thought that it was correct that police just get to do whatever they want, unimpeded, nobody's watching what they're doing, nobody is policing the police to say, hey, holy crap, that's not right. So when something would happen that would cause an unjust death at the hands of the police, these people would literally just go, yeah, fucking good riddance, that stupid bastard. That cop should be given a medal. Saying something like that drives people who don't have that opinion into a deeper feeling, and then you just, if you could shut the fuck up, we could have a conversation. Like, if you could not say dumb shit like that, and some people are like, well, I really would like stricter mental health checks on gun purchases, and it'd be really nice if you couldn't just walk into a gun show in a state that you don't come from, not have to pass a background check, and buy 12 guns, take them home, and sell them to people without a permit. Yeah, that'd be really nice. And some people are just like, it's my Second Amendment right, I get to have guns and shoot them at people and blah, blah, blah. That sends people on the other side into a rage.
Yeah, and then their rage takes the sensible people on the other side who weren't starting off being unreasonable, and they look at that and go, oh, what the fuck? Come on, really? Can you not? So yeah, I mean, and it's difficult. I mean, actually,
it's throwing a rock at a charging bison.
Yeah, matter of fact, just today, my dad. Now, a lot of the times he says this stuff just to get my goat because he knows it annoys me. But, he said something like to the effect of, yeah, they shouldn't have murdered George Floyd. What they should have done was just, taken him to the station and then quietly executed him. And I went, oh my God, really? And he just kind of, that was one of the things where, like, he's not like that.
Yeah, he just does it to get you.
Yeah, he just says it to piss me off, and I'm like, and at the same time, it's like there are people who think like that, and that's why I take it seriously. I'm like, are you oh God, you boomer, stop.
Yeah, my old boss when I worked for the construction company. At one point, we were having a conversation about police brutality because of there's so many names of people who were unjustly killed by cops that I can't even remember which case we were discussing at the time, but Trayvon Martin came up and he goes, good fucking riddance. Zimmerman should be given a medal because A, B, and C. And I'm like, are you kidding me? He's not a cop. Cops aren't so first off, he's not a cop. American citizens do not get to just shoot random people. Cops are not supposed to kill guilty people. And how do you even feel that way? And he goes, well, he was a thug, so eventually he would have ended up doing something and had to have been shot, so it's good that somebody took care of him. And I'm like, oh, flashpoint right here. I flashed up hard. It's hard to keep your top on when it comes to that kind of thing, but I can't. That's the thing. Like, and that's one thing I noticed is that you, even now, you're very emotionally driven. Like I hear it in the way you talk, and your motivation behind the positions you take generally is very just based on how you feel. And then what you'll do is you'll look at things like anecdotes from people you know, and then you'll take that as confirmation of your emotional basis, and then therefore confirmation of your position, kind of thing. The thing is in those situations, my views tend to be more equalized rather than, I'm not going to say correct because I don't know what the hell is correct, but they tend to be more equalized in that I can't say that what I think when it comes to those anecdotes applies across the board. I may say it in the time because yes, I do have a lot of feelings. I'm a human. I have a lot of feelings, but during those moments when I'm talking about those anecdotes and I'm like, this is what has to be done about this, it does apply to that situation. So yes, that would have worked. That would be the equal solution during that moment. But, 10 miles down the road where the same outcome happened with different details and different variables, my answer doesn't apply. So, but I definitely get where you're coming from. I'm not disagreeing. But so to go back to where I was originally coming from with this, to bring all this up, is that you were talking about how people will just jump off the handle at somebody and start yelling at them and treating them like a lesser person because of something, the communication's not right. Over the last couple of years, like after getting out of what you call my SJW phase, I've learned the proper way to communicate with people. And this is something that I actually wanted to talk to you about because people don't communicate properly. Like,
definitely.
And it's even something that you don't do. Like, you don't communicate properly because your brain starts going a mile a minute, and you have the details for your end goal of your explanation, but when you start when you start talking to somebody who has an opposing view to you, you have to break it down to the stage of literally just going, hey, this is a screwdriver.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
you have...
that's called arguments from first principles, and it is very difficult to, especially when someone who you disagree with is trying to actively engage at the same time that you're trying to explain something.
Yes.
It's so, like, I have that problem with in my server all the time. Like, this guy, he's the communist, and every time I try to break things down to arguments from first principles, I try to walk things back to their base components.
Yes.
And he just resists all the fucking way. And, like, when it comes to, like the...
It does happen, but what you have to do is you need to put a hard stop on it. And I don't know what goes on between you and him and the server, but when it comes to other people, you have to put a hard stop on the conversation, because some people want to keep going, and you're on step 3. But they don't have a grasp on step 1 and 2 just yet of the way that you feel. So
and I think my problem is I try not to be rude. I am so concerned about being seen as an asshole or being seen as, like, trying to dominate the conversation. Because I've had people jump on me for that. I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to do that. I'm literally just trying to explain something. And, like, so I get even in these kinds of conversations, I get very neurotic about it. Like, like the stammering and the stuttering and the trying to qualify things and not finishing a sentence because, oh shit, I actually have to jump back a minute and go in this direction so that you have full context for what I'm about to say. And this, it's like...
Yeah, and I kind of know that you work that way, so when you're stammering and stuff like that, I try to bring you back to a full stop so that you can think of what sentence is the main part of what I was trying to say, rather than trying to qualify everything at the same time.
Yeah, I go into like 400 million different directions, and I'm trying to make sure that nobody can assail something I'm saying without hearing the full context of what I'm saying, because people do it to me all the fucking time. It drives me nuts. But yeah, so like this is the kind of thing where it's like I'll try to, like with the morality thing. We were talking a little bit earlier about objective morality, and so that's one of the things where me and really butt heads is he's a big Hume guy. Like, oh no, you can't get an ought from an is. You can't determine what's morally right or wrong from what exists in the world. And I'm like, well, yes, you can. So
that doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't. And so he's big on Hume's guillotine, and I'm just like, Hume's guillotine is like Hume's butter knife. Like, it doesn't do anything. Like, and it's based on, and he doesn't seem to, like, he wrote this enormous thing, like, getting on my shit about about positions I don't hold, about attitudes I don't have, about conclusions I have not reached, and they were all just like, he didn't understand what I was saying when I tried to communicate with him, and he just was trying to just bring things back to, no, but the academic paper says, but Sam Harris's moral landscape is based on what this guy said in the 1700s, so I'm like, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit.
You don't have to give a shit.
I got it from Sam Harris. I'm sorry. That's all I care about is the idea, not who said it first. Yeah. Right? So I look at now, and he said something like, I have an allergy to any philosopher from more than 100 years ago, or some stupid nonsense like that. I'm like, no, I am perfectly fine listening to anything that anyone. My God, one of my favorite philosophers is Socrates. That's more than 100 years old, you know.
Like,
so,
are you really telling me that Zeno of Citium, Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius don't have any hold in current-day philosophy? Really? You're telling me that the only way that I can get the philosophy from them is through Ryan Holiday? Or Massimo Pigliucci?
Yeah, I mean, so this is the thing, right? So, like, I don't have a problem with listening to older, to old-time philosophers, but what I'm saying, particularly in my critique of Hume, is that his conclusion that you cannot get a moral ought from an is a non sequitur. The examples that they always use in, like, matter of fact, even in a video that it sent me, it's, the example they use is people in the 17th and 18th centuries saying, throughout our history we ate meat, so therefore we ought to eat meat. That is not a valid moral conclusion from reality. To extrapolate that to we cannot get an ought from an is, period, like no such thing as objective morality, it's totally separate, that's not valid. That's a non sequitur. You have jumped to a conclusion.
Yeah, without anything tying the two together.
Right, and that's what I tried to explain to him, and I tried to explain also, and he took this completely the wrong way, and this is where I'm like, I don't know how to actually be any clearer about this with you, is that he took, now my criticism was also that Hume was slavery was still a thing in Hume's time. We had not, people's moral sophistication, particularly the common people, their moral sophistication at that time was on a par or lesser than modern day children. Modern children have a better grasp on basic morality and why those things are good or bad than people in the 17th and 18th century did. So to sit there and say that Hume is one of the greatest contributors to moral philosophy when he came from a time when people's idea of morality was Sky Daddy said so, and when the entire basis for his argument is a non sequitur, and every example that you look at is non sequitur, and then when you find, and this is one of the things that drove me absolutely up a fucking wall, is he's trying to redefine terms when he argues with me, like, but then he acts like I'm redefining terms into some arbitrary, nonsensical definition that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
no.
It's different if you're trying to qualify them by using the definition, but an established definition can't be changed, but qualifying the context of the use of the term is different than trying to redefine it. And a lot of people don't understand that, so they just tell you, no, that doesn't mean that. That means this, when it's like, for the last 700 years, the word tree has meant tree.
Yeah, well, for instance, objective and subjective. These are conceptual opposite terms. They mean two completely different things.
One is what you personally view, and the other one is a universal truth.
Exactly. One, and this is the way I describe it. I say that objectivity is that which applies to everyone at all times, independent of personal feeling or preference. Subjectivity is the opposite of that.
Subjective is literally the view of the subject as determined by factors.
Right. It cannot apply to everyone at all times. It is necessarily contingent upon the personal feelings and preferences of the individual. So it may be held by a large number of individuals as a feeling or preference, but it still is contingent upon the subject. They could change their minds at any time, whereas with objectivity, you don't get a choice. It's just true or it's not true. So that's how I define those terms, just conceptually. And that is what they mean. And it's kind of like how truth is necessarily a universal thing. Like, there is no such thing as my truth, your truth. It's just the truth. Because the concept of truth is valid description of reality, independent of personal feeling or preference.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
If that's not what the truth is, then how can you tell me I'm wrong? Because what you have to do to argue against that definition of truth is say that it is not an accurate description of reality to describe the truth as an accurate description of reality. So you have to use the definition to argue against the definition. So your argument self-annihilates and you're wrong. It's the same thing with like relativism, where it's like, oh, it is universally true that there is no such thing as universal truth. Well, I'm sorry, that's just wrong. I know that was a kind of a brain dump there, but you get what I'm saying. Is that like, so this is what he does, is he plays these linguistic games, but then he'll sit there and say that in most instances, that we're defining objectivity and subjectivity incorrectly. But then when I get him in a logical argument about, like in this instance about the morality thing, a word, when I say like a word means this, like words have inherent meaning, because if they don't, language can't function. Everyone who speaks the English language has to understand that a narwhal is not the same thing as a snapping turtle. A
squirrel.
Like, yeah exactly. So, it doesn't really matter. Like, you get the idea.
Yeah.
So language is objective in the sense that it applies to everyone at all times. The word does not stop meaning what it means conceptually. It does not stop conveying the concept just because, let's say, somebody else doesn't speak the English language. Okay, well, that person just needs to learn the ability to speak the language. It's like if I, Ore no Nihongo wa ii de shikashi arai mo. Now, my Japanese, I literally just said, my Japanese is pretty good, but it's also rough. So if I went to Japan and I started trying to speak Japanese when I am not articulate enough, right? I'm not fluent. I'm not articulate enough to actually hold a conversation in Japanese. I can pick words out and go, that's what that means in English.
Yeah. But then you're missing context and you're missing.
Right. So I can't just sit there and come up with syllables and make words that sound Japanese and then actually be saying anything. It's objectively not Japanese.
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of the thing where it's like, it is a universal thing. This is, as it exists, the English language is this, and the words within it are this, regardless of who you are or when you live. It's that kind of thing. And so, but he'll sit there and say that we're defining objective and subjective incorrectly, and then turn around and when I get him on something like that, he'll say, but words don't have inherent meaning. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. So then I can't be defining... Huh?
Just be like, wait a minute, I thought they did.
Yeah, exactly. So how can I be defining objective and subjective incorrectly if words don't have inherent meaning? You have just tried to use...
Yeah, that's when you screenshot.
Yeah, that's where it's like, you have just tried to use an empirical claim in support of a relativistic position.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. And so, or vice versa. So it's like, that kind of shit drives me nuts. And so it's like, wait a minute, so is it only when it's convenient for you that words have inherent meaning? Is that the game we're playing here?
That is the game that you're playing before you understand how to communicate properly. Because if you remember, both of us used to do that and then call each other out on it quite often, where it wasn't like you, out of like maybe 200 conversations, I think you probably did that 2 or 3 times, where that would be something that would come out of my mouth constantly because I didn't know how to communicate and I was just flashing up. But it was more of like a slip of the tongue kind of thing. But it did happen between both of us.
Yeah.
But fucking hell, it again breaks down to learning how to communicate with people, because if you know how to actually speak to somebody when you're discussing a problem like that, you don't flash up and you don't say dumb stuff. Mm-hmm. But you know what really fucking throats my scrot?
What throats your scrot?
ABC or XYZ is a social construct.
Oh, fuck me. I hate that. The social construct is just describing a phenomena that exists in reality.
There's no better way to define social construct than what you just said. But I used to think like, holy crap, yeah, we did just say that, X equals X because we said so. And then I started to realize after a while, it's like, okay, well, the word handle only means handle because we say so. But it's true. The word TV or television is only called television because the inventor said that's the name of it. Nobody questioned him. And then we call it a television. That is truth.
Yeah, telecommunicated vision, right? I mean, so you can see the etymology behind the word, and
yeah, it's not only it's
not arbitrary.
The way that I view it has, I know you can go into the etymology and everything, but the way that I view it is just that, oh my god, no. Everything in life is a social construct. But what gets me is when people use it to try to say, I don't have to follow this because blah, blah, blah. So the people that, the one thing that I don't care about is the people that are like, gender is a social construct. Because you can go off into your own little corner and talk to the rest of your friends about how gender is a social construct. As long as you're not trying to affect laws, I'll call you by whatever pronouns you want. I'm totally fine with that. That doesn't affect my life one single bit. What really throats my scrot is when people say time is a social construct.
Oh my god.
There are 4 universal constant things, and that's it. space, time, heat, and math. Those are the only 4 things that exist everywhere at all time. Everywhere. Without question, they're the only ubiquitous things in the universe. Space, time, heat, and math. And people say math is a social construct, time's a social construct. No. Time is a word that we use to apply a system of measurement to a very specific set of circumstances. Those circumstances are ubiquitous throughout the universe, and without the word time, there is no way to figure out how we are even here.
Right. The socially derived abstractions that we use in order to articulate the concept of the physical phenomena does not invalidate the entire concept.
And that's what people use for everything. And so when they say it about time, that's a big fucking deal. When they say it about gender, do whatever you want with your genitalia.
It's less of a big deal, but it still kind of speaks to some reality denial that kind of
that's fine. That's fine. Keep it in your own corner.
Yeah.
You know, don't put it into my legislature. Don't do this.
Yeah. Don't like the Jordan Peterson thing. Don't mandate that I call you Z or Zer. Yeah.
That's dead. That is dead. That's actually considered a slur.
Really?
Yeah, that's considered a slur now, as far as I understand, because of the fact that people tried to make that something that you call anybody who doesn't go by he or her, or she or him.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't apply to everybody. So, the word they. I don't see how they is so controversial with some people. Some people get so up in arms about, like, what if they're transgender? What do I call them? Them.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're referring to somebody in a nondescript way where you don't know if they're a male or a female, or if they prefer to be considered one or the other from what they actually are, then it's like, I can see using they as like just a general term, right?
Well, they is supposed to be non-binary or somebody that you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't even accept the concept of non-binary. There's no such thing as
I don't care.
Not male or female. Well, like, look, I don't get my panties in a knot over it. But my whole thing is like, if you ask me if I accept as a valid concept being neither male nor female, absolutely not. That's absurd. Gender is derived from biological sex.
Yes, I understand it as like a headspace thing.
Yeah, it's a headspace thing based on behavior patterns that are derived from the roles of males and females per biological sex throughout our evolutionary history. Yeah. So it's not just this arbitrary thing where it's like, you have tits and a Gary, so you... I knew that was coming.
The seamlessness! The seamlessness is fucking crazy. Fucking Gary. I don't know if we're gonna keep the explanation for that in or not, but holy shit. The fact that you didn't even skip a beat and you just kept going. God, I feel like fucking Bert Kreischer right now. Oh my god.
I'm not laughing at my own joke. I'm laughing at your reaction.
You can't stop. Okay.
This is Fenton Thermos all over again. I have been trying for 3 years to get you with another Danny Phantom reference just out of the blue.
Who did this?
God.
Oh, come on. You missed that one.
I am in another realm right now. That was too fucking funny.
Do you remember Dark Souls 2 who did this?
Yes. Yes, where you were up in the air and then Rich pulled the lever.
In the fucking, what was it called? The Iron what? Iron Keep?
In the Iron Keep, yeah.
I go to dive stabs somebody and the floor falls out below. And it's my
and
world, so everybody gets disconnected afterwards. And I just went, who did this?
You're just standing there in the middle of the air with nothing below you.
Oh, man.
That was fucking amazing.
Oh, fucking hell.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Anyway.
I had a point to travel to, too, and now I don't.
I hate when that happens. It was worth it, though.
That was a good point.
If it comes back, it comes back.
So let's travel back, because we were talking about the Jordan Peterson thing about...
Yeah. So, like, the gender is a social construct, all that kind of stuff, where it's like, so if you ask me, like... Yeah, okay, so, yeah, so this whole thing about...
I don't know. It was a story time thing, so finish your point,
okay.
And then I have story time.
Okay, so yeah, so like this whole thing about like, we just arbitrarily decided you are what we would classify as biologically female, so therefore you have this role as the homemaker and blah blah blah. It's like that's not how it works. These things were very error-prone, error-laden concepts that came out of the behaviors that came out of the reproductive roles of males and females throughout human history as an ape species that was not cognitively equipped for the capacity of our brains, if that makes sense. Like
we didn't know what we could do, so we stayed in our lanes.
We had to really work a lot of shit out over the last 100,000 years to get to where we are, and we're still riddled with imperfections cognitively. Yeah. So the idea that somehow 100,000 years ago we just arbitrarily decided with the same cognition that we have now, men are the dominant one, women are the submissive one. No, that's retarded. The reality of it is, no, these are apes that are just developing sentience, that have these behavioral patterns after millions, billions of years of evolution. And, to become the species that they are now. And they're just figuring out how to use these brains, and so these behaviors are just going to be, hey, this works, it helps us survive, and so this is how we're going to behave, and over time that just kind of sticks, that becomes the norm, that becomes the culture of different places. And again, it's a ubiquitous thing. Every human culture is like this, with very few exceptions. So when you have that consistency, that biological basis for these behaviors, that's what gender roles are, is just men tend to do this, women tend to do this. And it's not just an arbitrarily defined socialized thing, it's just the brains are wired that way. And so that's where it comes from. It's not just this, we decided this. And so, yes, gender roles in a sense are a social construct, but they are a phenomena that we're simply describing with the concept of gender roles. And if if they are descriptive rather than prescriptive, I see absolutely no problem with that. And I think that this anti-scientific, we're going to smash the gender binary. Fucking how? There is no way to get around that. We are a sexually dimorphic species. And gender roles came out of our biological roles.
Yeah, people don't understand that you can't redefine the way science works. People think that gender is a completely individual thing, and it's like gender is based specifically on your genitalia, not the way that your head thinks. If you feel that way, then leave gender alone. Come up with a new descriptor to determine that you have a penis, but your insides, your personality and your brain are mostly feminine, and that you would like to change the physical part, because the physical part is defined already. It doesn't change. Right. Come up with a new descriptor. That would be totally rad, because then we won't have to have this conversation.
And here's the thing. We have the term, it's called transgender, and all it means is, let's say someone says, I'm a male, but I would prefer to be treated as a female because it makes me more comfortable emotionally. Okay, sure, be a respectable person. I got no fucking problem with that. Same thing, you know, if you're a female but you want to be treated as a male because it makes you feel more comfortable emotionally, by all means, got no problem with that. But now when we get into this whole trans women are women and you're transphobic if you don't want to have sex with a trans woman, it's like, no, I like vagina, not sort of vagina.
Yeah, so that's going way too far saying that. I hate this everything phobic stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like,
I
get you're uncomfortable. I get you're really offended. I get you want to make radical change so that everybody feels comfortable and accepted. And I'm behind you. I'm behind the whole community when it comes to trying to make a better world for everybody who lives in our world.
We just can't deny reality to get there.
And we can't, like, that's literally like trying to say, like, redefining the words for the sexes rather than creating a new word or using a new word, whatever it is.
Using the word we already have, it's just perfectly good.
Is basically like saying, I don't like the periodic labeling for potassium, so I'm going to start using my own symbol for it.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't. It's a universal thing. We have, as a people, decided to use K to represent potassium. You, as an individual, or as a small group, do not just get to say, I'm going to change this because it makes me feel uncomfortable, but you as a group have every right to create a new descriptor for your... Because not everybody is like that. Not everybody is trans. Not everybody feels uncomfortable in the body that they were born with. So you can't make it a universal thing for everybody. But you as a group can create a descriptor for your group, or a set of descriptors for your group. You can't force people to call you that, but if you're being respectful, people will do what you ask because you're a good person. Like, that's what it is. Like, you have to be a good person for people to I don't want to say agree with you, because being agreeable and disagreeable is a slippery slope in conversations.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If I think what you're looking for is for people to be compliant with your preferences. Yes,
exactly. For people to actually, in layman's terms, to call you what you prefer to be called, the descriptors that you prefer to use. You can't redefine a defined word. You can create a new word and a definition for that.
Yeah. Like for instance, I refer to Blair White as she. First of all, that's how I know her. You know, I never knew her as a guy. But it's like, okay, well, you're a decently respectable person. You're not insane. So I have no particular problem adhering to your preferences. But if you're somebody like one of these, you know, danger hair, you know, smash the gender binary and everything's a social construct and die cis scum, all that kind of stuff, it's like, I'm not going to seek it out. I'm not going to, like, try to engage. But, like, if I'm going to refer to you as something because it's part of the conversation and you're, you know, like, let's say you're a transgender person who's not a respectable human being, then... okay, that'll put sand in your cross. So yeah, I'll just do that. You know, like it's not an active like I'm gonna get you. It's just more of like I won't validate your preferences if you're gonna be a dick and you're gonna, you know, especially if you're gonna have that attitude where like I'm a bad guy just because I exist. Like no.
If a trans woman pisses me off about something, which I don't understand how it would ever happen, because I'm pretty compliant with stuff like that, but if a trans woman ever pisses me off, I would still use her pronouns and her chosen name and everything. And just as a side note here, calling your birth name your dead name is so fucking dumb. You sound
it's petty.
An absolute idiot when you go, my dead name. I don't call myself by my dead name. You're a fucking idiot.
This is the kind of petty emotionality that we start getting into where I'm like, all right, you know, I mean, like, I get how you feel, but reality is reality. You gotta operate on reality's terms.
Like, we have a right to change our names, chill out.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna call somebody by something they don't want to be called. And I'm not...
Yeah, I mean, And just to clarify,
Even
like I
if
don't
I'm
mean
mad.
yeah, like I don't, and just to clarify, I don't mean like in some kind of a petty "you pissed me off" kind of way, but like if you're just a total prick, like if you are just the kind of person who you are just insufferably disgusting as a human being, and I have no reason to be respectful to your preferences, I'm not going to be concerned with that. And if I know that you're actually a guy and just feel like, you know, like you would prefer to be considered a woman, then I don't care. Like, I'll probably, if I just casually refer to you as a guy, then whatever. Like, I don't care at that point.
At
But
that
if
point, I
you know,
self-censor.
yeah, and I tend to bite my tongue. Like,
Well, no, it's not even that. I self-censor that person from my life. Because if you're going to be ignorant like that, you're not emotionally equipped to have a conversation with somebody who has an evolved sense of communication. And I don't need to put myself through listening to you berate me because of some arbitrary thing. It's like, if I'm being respectful, I know that I'm being respectful to this person. Because even if we disagree and they are not being respectful, they still deserve respect. And I'm going to give that to them. But you know what? I don't need them in my life. And I'm going to self-censor by removing them from my life respectfully. I don't need to feed into their trauma or whatever's causing them.
They're victim complex in some cases.
Yeah, but there's usually something that's causing somebody so much hurt that makes them act like that. But
and that's a huge tangent, but you just sparked something big. Like I have this hypothesis, and I've even talked about this with my therapist just to get his perspective. He's a PhD, and I just was like, hey, you know, let's talk about this because I'm really curious what you think. Yeah. And he seems to think that there's something to it. But obviously I don't want to, because I know you had something else you wanted to get to. It sparked in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, there's actually a thing that feeds directly into what you're talking about there, with something caused them to be this way to begin with.
Yeah, keep that in mind, because I've got story corner here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if I have talked to you about this, but a couple of years ago, my friends and I got really into going to our local Renaissance fair. And we had a really weird time. So we went there, and one of my buddies had his THC oil pen. So we were puffing on that all day. And then my buddy John comes in, and he had gone to my cousin, who is like our quote-unquote dealer, but he's just my cousin who sells shit that he makes, and he bought it wasn't a Rice Krispie treat, it was a Captain Crunch like marshmallow treat from him, and he split this big thing. It was like it was massive, dude. It was like 8 inches by 8 inches, and he split it into quarters and gave it to the few of us that partake. Actually, the kid who did that just Snapchatted me. So he broke it into a couple of quarters for those of us who do partake. And
I have to jump in. Speak of the devil's lettuce, and he shall appear.
So my cousin told him only take a quarter at a time. And he didn't tell us that, because he probably fucking forgot, because he's scatterbrained. So all I was gonna say hi, but yeah. All four of us. No, he hadn't started yet.
Oh yeah.
All four of us devour the whole thing. Not even realizing where he got it from, because he didn't tell everybody it was from my cousin, and my cousin's been partaking and creating these products for most of his life. So his tolerance is massive. So he makes things for people with massive tolerances. And then when you don't have a massive tolerance, when you buy it, he goes, that's going to last you a month. He goes, nibble on that. I made that for somebody who's been smoking for 40 years. That's my recipe. Nibble on it. So he tells you that when you buy it, but John didn't tell us that. Oh, okay. And we ate the whole thing, and we were... Dude,
on your asses.
It was so close, because I don't believe that you've ever partaken in the THC, but it doesn't, like, some people think like, oh my god, you hallucinate, you do this, you do that. No, you don't. You are your focus is off. Your focus is really weird, and it affects your memory, and like your short-term memory, because sometimes you just don't remember the thing that you just said. You'll say something, and it doesn't affect the things that you say. Like, I'll just be like, oh man, I really love Dr. Pepper. And then 2 seconds later, I'll put the Dr. Pepper down and be like, did I just say I really love Dr. Pepper? And then everybody else around you would be like, oh man, I don't know, I wasn't paying attention. Your focus is just off. So, we do that, and then we go up to one of the clothing stores, because this is the second week that we were there. And the first week, I bought this vest, and the vest was just a little bit too big. So we go to the clothing store. It was like a $200 vest, so I'm like, oh shit, I gotta figure out a way to get this thing to fit properly. And I talked to this short girl that's standing there. She's adorable. And I'm like, hey, I was just wondering if I could get if I could exchange this for a smaller size, because the clasp's come undone. And she goes, oh, we don't do exchanges, but hold on, let me see if I can fix it for you. And she's like, I'll lace the sides up differently so that they're much tighter. And so for 15 minutes, she's unlacing the side of my vest and relacing it. And me, off of my gourd, is like talking to this girl, and she is flirting through and through. You okay, buddy? Sorry, my cat just chirped. But yeah, I think he just woke himself up from a nightmare. He made a bad sound. But so she's like flirting with me and telling me that I smell nice because I put like cologne on for that day, and like all sorts of stuff. And she's obviously very, very close to me at this time, and she's like, she's a short, thin, like flat little lady, just how I usually like them. And she's got like her boobs are overflowing out of her corset and everything, and she's got really pretty hair, really pretty face, and I'm sitting there like, this, I have no opposition to this. And so then I leave, and she's like she was just super nice the whole time, and then I leave. And then at the end of the fair, we go back into that place because my buddy Zach wanted to go and check out the price of a shirt. So I walk back in, and not only do I notice that I'm wearing just red and black, she is also just wearing red and black. And I walk up to these cloaks, and she grabs a red and black one, pulls it out, like not off of the rack, but she pulls it out, and she goes, red, black, all I'm saying is, look, we could match, you and me. And me, still a fucking space cadet at this point, I just looked at her and I go, tell me what I have to do. And so I put my sword down, I put my my belt down, and a couple of other things that I had strapped to me. And she just plays dress up with me for like 45 minutes. And it was so fun. It was adorable. It was fun. And then at the end of the whole dress up thing, I was like, I might get this. I don't have the money for it right now, but I might get it. And she starts telling me that I can order stuff online, and there's payment plans and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, what's it called? And she goes, here, let me go and get you the specific tag for this thing, and I'll write it down so you can look it up online. And she writes it down on a little card, and then hands me the card, and she goes, fuck. Hold on, and pulls it back. She goes, I forgot to write the size and blah, blah, blah down on it. And then she flips it over and writes her name, her phone number, and her Facebook on it.
Oh, God.
And I was like, what? This is like the coolest thing that's ever happened. And so I texted her, and I was sitting there anxious all day, like, cute girl, cute girl, cute girl, cute girl. And this was like 4 years ago. No, 3? 2 or 3? Something like that?
I'm assuming it would have been post Harpy.
It was, and it was before Allie and I started dating. So 2 years ago?
Probably 3. It was probably about 3.
I think it was 2, because I had just broken up with Cassie.
Okay.
So
I've lost track. I just remember the big ones.
It was 2000. No, it's 2018. Okay.
Okay.
October 2018. And yeah, so I texted her, and then we just started hanging out. She lived in Salem, but she stays, like, during fair season, she stays with friends that are literally down the street from me. And so we start hanging out and everything, and I come to find out she's also polyamorous, and she lives with her, they call it a nesting partner. It's like your main partner that you live with, and you know, if you were to get married, you would marry that partner. And I go over their house and hang out, and they've got like a cool little apartment thing. It's dirty as fuck, but is what it is. And then at one point, she does explain that, hey, you know, I am non-binary. And I'm like, Jesus, no skin off my fucking nose. I don't care. You can be whatever the hell. You can be a fucking flying brown unicorn for all I care, because what I see and the way that you talk to me is totally okay. You know? I don't see flying brown unicorn when I look at you, and I don't hear fucking the tongue of the devil when you talk, so we're good. But a couple of times in, here's where story time really starts. So,
oh boy.
We're driving around trying to figure out what to do that night. It's probably like the 4th or 5th time we hung out. And like she goes on Facebook or something. She goes, hey, my friend's throwing a party tonight. You want to go to a party? And I was like, hey, why not? Let's do it. And this is back when I wasn't drinking. And I was like, I'm going to be designated driver anyway, but everybody else is going to be hammered off their ass, and that's fine. But we get there, and she walks up to the wrong apartment, because it's one of those Boston-style apartments where it's like a super thin stairway, super narrow stairway that leads to really confusing doors. And that was like the first red flag, is like you didn't know exactly which door your quote-unquote friend was at. Then we finally find the right place, the next door we knocked on. Come to find out, she just found out about this party on Facebook, and there was only one person there who knew her.
Okay.
A little weird. And then we're sitting there and we're talking to people, having a good time. And we go and we start, like, before we go and we start playing charades in the other room, there's this other guy, a very attractive guy there, and she starts hitting on him, and I'm like, I am very new to this whole lifestyle thing, so little uncomfortable, but it is what it is. You know, you're comfortable in your lifestyle. I can't tell you, because we're not like officially dating, and even if we were, your lifestyle doesn't condone me going, hey, don't do that, because that's the way that you live, is with several people, and that's fine. But I didn't expect it, so I wasn't really on my toes. And then we go to the other room for charades, and she winds up like sitting on both of our laps at the same time while it's not our turn. Okay. And it's getting a little uncomfortable. And then while everybody was kind of quiet, we were shifting teams. So like one team finished, the next team went to go up. It was a little quiet, and she leans over into his ear, and I hear, what do you think about coming back to my place with Shane and double teaming me? And I'm sitting there like, okay, her and I have talked about this. She knows that, yeah, I'd be down on that, but she didn't ask me first. And at that point, like, my sexuality was super suppressed so that I could recover. Like, and I would have been okay with it if she talked to me, but she had just assumed that, and I went, oh man, I'm uncomfortable as fuck. Then the the straw that broke the camel's back was it was my turn to go up for charades, and I had to act out, he doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. I didn't get past the first word. I couldn't show he. And that's what my mind was fixated on.
Okay.
And when my time was up, I said, I just had to act out he doesn't know his ass from the hole in the ground. And Jen just said, you should have just pointed to me. I would have known, because I'm non-binary.
That is... I can't even... No, that is not how that works.
I walked out the door, and I went home, and I left her there.
Oh my god. See, but this is the kind of stuff, this is the kind of reality denial that I'm getting at, where it's like...
No, I'm sorry, but the concepts of gender come from biological sex. And so one of the ways that we identify he and she is by how you look.
Yeah, but how am I supposed to know that? How am I supposed to...
That's exactly the point, because if you're looking at somebody who is clearly female, and like, and matter of fact, actually, like when I first found Blair White, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that she was actually male. Like, the signs were all said female, and I'm like, wow, she's actually kind of attractive. And then, come to find out, oh, she's trans. Okay, well, you know, okay, you do a good job. You know, it's like, because that's actually kind of like part of the point of the whole trans thing is you are changing how you present yourself to better match what you feel is preferable to you. So when someone sees what is clearly a female, they do not think male pronoun.
No, not at all.
When she said that, oh, well, I'm non-binary, so you could have just pointed to me, someone, and the in parentheses, someone who is clearly female, for the male pronoun. There's a mismatch here.
Well, I don't think it goes that deep. It's just, if I point to you, what is it? Are you gonna think me, or are you gonna think Jen, or are you going to think woman, or person, or human? But
well, this is what I'm getting at, though, is that there's this.
Does not come up. He and she does not come up in that specific. And the some of these people who are so obsessed with, like, the gender binary and the gender non-binary, whatever the fuck you want to call it, or just think that everything in life revolves around that one thing.
Yes, that is so annoying.
Like, how do you think that charades revolves around being binary in gender? Like, holy crap. Do you realize the charade that I had to act out? Pointing to you would not have fixed anything, because I still had to act out doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. Even if I just pointed to you and you got he, I still didn't know how to finish the rest of the fucking thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean... But this is the thing, is that, like, when they get into this stuff, like, oh, I'm non-binary. Well, okay, well, what does that mean? That means that I'm outside the gender binary. Okay, so what does that mean? So, and this is kind of what I was getting at with the pronouns thing is mechanically, right? So what you're talking about, like, does woman come up? Does Jen come up? Does he or she come up, right? So, like...
Person, man, woman, camera, TV.
Blue chair, brown chair. I don't know, it depends on how much...
Cheese chair.
Yeah. So...
The Burlington Cheese Code Factory.
I love that picture.
I do too.
If you think about it...
Mutant Teenage Needle Teetles.
I'm literally melting right now. But the where was I? So yeah, this what you were saying about how, like, like, does woman come up? Does her name come up? Does yada yada? Like, one of those things would be like, does pronouns come up, right? So it's all of, like, how do you?
It was the only thing on their mind.
Right, and mechanically, the whole point of what I'm getting at is, like, when you say, like, well, it doesn't go that deep, the idea is that mechanically, and that's what I'm trying to describe here, is the mechanics of the thought process, right? So
the mechanics of the thought process is literally, I'm selfish. I wanted to make this moment about me.
Oh yeah, no, I'm about that. Yeah, I mean, like, in that sense too. But what I mean is, like, and when it comes to, like, identifying, right? How would you possibly get he out of pointing to a female, right? When obviously everyone who speaks the language knows that he refers to a male.
Especially when I'm the only one in the room that knows you're non-binary.
That's the other part of that, right? So, so this is kind of what I'm getting at, is that, like, mechanically, when everyone understands that he is a male pronoun, and when we are built, conceptually, to tie female characteristics, which she is clearly presenting, to the female pronoun, that's how we identify males and females, is by physical characteristics.
Yeah.
So when we identify males and females by physical characteristics, and she has female characteristics, we're going to associate the female pronoun with what is clearly a female.
Visually, yes.
How you feel internally has no bearing on how other people identify you categorically as a member of the human species.
Until you let them know.
And even then, all that's doing is them just saying, "Oh, okay. Well, I guess if it's preferable to you, then I will identify you, as something else." But yeah. Okay.
Oh boy, I have another story time.
Yeah. So, but this is kind of what I'm getting at is, and I know I'm saying that a lot, is that mechanically, right? So that's the thought process. No, there's no way that you could have gotten he from what is clearly a woman.
Yeah. Agreed.
And this whole idea of, well, I'm non-binary. I mean, it's and I'm going to be a little bit blunt here. It's kind of stupid to begin with, because in order to even validate the concept, before we even start getting into the feelings, if it's something that exists, it has characteristics within empirical reality that separate it from that which also exists but is not the same thing. So, and just to illustrate the point, right? So, I always kind of go back to Sword Art Online exists, Konosuba exists. These things are different, okay? They are not the same thing. There are things that are neither Sword Art Online or Konosuba, and the way we tell the difference between those two things or anything else is what are its characteristics. So, and that's how we categorize things, conceptually. The concepts describe physical characteristics. And I would extend that actually to, and this is actually something else that gives me kind of some flack for, is that I extend the idea of physical characteristics in an abstract sense to ideas. So, like, the way I look at this is, as conscious entities that exist in reality, the ideas that we have, the abstract concepts that we generate in our brains, are also a part of reality. Those ideas exist as brain states.
But they are your realities, not anybody else's.
No, what I mean by that is that, like, for instance, if I... Like, so, okay. Pick a fictional character, right? They don't actually exist. They are a concept. But they exist. So...
Because
like,
we can think of them, they exist.
Right. The concept exists. The concept of this thing exists. And so we can apply the same kind of empiricism, the same scientific method to concepts as we can to things in physical reality, because in order for a concept to exist, it itself has to have characteristics that separate it from other concepts. The only difference between something that we generate in our brains as an original idea that only exists in our minds and something that exists in a physical reality is the fact that one is simply a brain state as opposed to something that can be touched independently of who you are, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Right. So this is what I mean, and this throws people, like in particular. So and this kind of throws him for a loop. Like he just cannot fathom. And this is right. And again, getting back to the communication thing, I run into a point where I don't know how to communicate to some people, because I will, like, especially if they absolutely resist with all their might going back to first principles, to where I will sit there and try to actually hash out the validity of a concept like words have inherent meaning. reality exists. Like, I can't stand solipsists. They make me want to punch a wall.
What is that? Solipsist?
Solipsism. Like, you familiar with that?
You and I have had conversations on it years ago, but I don't recall.
Okay, so solipsism is the belief that the only thing that you can be sure exists is your own mind. There are numerous problems with this. Logically, empirically, it just does not shake. And so,
well, that's kind of weird because things like color don't actually exist. Color is a perception. So I can see where somebody would think that the only thing that does exist is our mind, because our senses are tricking us into believing that certain things happen. Even though, yeah, I may be able to touch my desk, that is just my senses reacting. Like, the only thing that is reacting is the brain. The brain is reacting to what it thinks the body is currently doing. There's no actual way to prove beyond our brain that I have a hand that is touching my desk currently. The only thing that is thinking that currently is my brain. So my brain may just literally be sitting in a jar somewhere telling me to feel A, B, and C thing because that's what it wants to imagine. There's no way to disprove that beyond the shadow of a doubt because the brain is the only thing that's doing the thinking. The hand doesn't have a brain inside of it to tell me, okay, yep, that's it. The brain just says, there is a hand, there is a desk, the feeling of hand to desk is happening. So I can see the validity of that, but it's really hard to prove or disprove. Like, really hard.
Well, here's the thing.
I would say that it's not even worth arguing because there's no merit or no benefit to proving it correct or incorrect. So just move on.
There's no point. Yeah, there's no point because we still have to function as if reality exists anyway.
So there's no. Just leave it alone and fucking just don't even think about stupid shit like that.
Well, and this is kind of why. Well, the reason I say it's stupid is because
I agree. It is
first
stupid.
of all, it self-annihilates. Because, for instance, okay, the only thing you can be sure of exists is your own mind. Okay, so I can only be sure that my mind exists. You can only be sure that your mind exists.
We may be constructs of a larger mind or a hive mind above us. We don't know.
Yeah, so we can't be sure that that exists. But if I'm sure that I exist and you're sure that you exist, but you're not sure that I exist and I'm not sure that you exist, you see where I'm going with this, right? It kind of, which one of us is the self that actually exists, number one.
There is no self. End of story. There is no self. We are a hive in total.
Self is a concept that the brain has for identifying its own state in reality, its own place in reality. So, like...
But there's no way to prove that self is a thing, and there's... When you honestly think about self compared to collective, there is no version where self exists on its own, because then self would have to be individual as apart from everything else in a situation where everything else is a construct that is not part of the self. So it's not. I hate when you say self-annihilating because it's that kind of puts a hard stop on the thought process where it's.
Well, and the reason I say that is because the logic causes the concept to implode. So, like, for instance.
But that's just by the logic that we understand right now. So when.
Well, no. Logic is logic. So like you have. You have a binary proposition. Something either is true or is not true. That's just logic.
No, I know, but you also have to realize the fact that we are viewing things like that from our fucking monkey mind here. There's a lot of things that we don't even have the monkey mind capacity to begin to approach comprehension of. So everything that you're going to argue with me right now, or not argue, but everything that you're going to explain to me right now is only true within our current perception of reality, ubiquity, and empiricism. outside of that, we don't know. But there may be an infinite amount of things pulling strings to create situations that we can't figure out. There's no way for me to actually explain the thought process behind that, because it is above our version of thinking. The only reason that logic is because it fits within what we can comprehend. There are levels way above and way below our current comprehension of logic that exist outside of our brain. So,
okay, I just want to pause you there. How would you know that, and how would you demonstrate that those levels exist other than using logic and empiricism?
Because we use infinity as a way to measure. Everything is infinite.
What do you mean?
Literally, everything is infinite. Everything has an infinite quality to it. Not that everything exists all the time forever, or that everything is everlasting, or that everything expands the universe, but everything is infinite. And if you give me just a second to kind of talk this through with myself, I'll be able to try to figure out how to communicate what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, because I just want to say, like, what you just said was basically, you said infinity is infinite, but infinity is not a temporal or physical
No, I'm not
cessation of limitation. That didn't really make any sense.
I'm saying that not every quality is infinite, but everything that we perceive is infinite. Like, I'm looking at a paycheck in front of me. If I really dig deep, let's say that my body is infinite in its current form, which it is not. I will forever remember this paycheck because it is infinitely in my head. Every atom in my body is completely infinite. Every use of energy in the universe is infinite.
Okay,
the concept... Go ahead, sorry.
No, well, we need to define the word infinite. Because I don't know what you mean when you say that. Like, you just say it over and over again, but...
I'm trying to use
if
it as
it's
a descriptor.
Yeah, so, like, if infinite is not endless in time, and infinite is not endless in space, what is infinite? What does that word mean? What concept is tied to that word?
That's the problem, though, is because it defines itself. Infinity is its own conceptual definition.
No, actually, you see, now that's the thing, is that infinity is to be endless, right? It stretches on without limitation.
We are made of star pieces from the beginning of the universe, Nick.
Yeah.
As far as we can tell currently, the atoms that have built us and built everything around us have existed for an infinite amount of time up until now. The atoms and the energy don't get destroyed, they get transferred. That's why we can make things. That's why we can do things and all that junk. The concept of infinity is infinite in itself because you can't define it. There is no way to put it in a box and say, yep, that's infinity, next word. Because that is the one thing that supersedes literally everything.
See, but the problem with that is that as soon as you say infinity is beyond definition, infinity is everything, you've defined infinity. So you have defined infinity as something that is everything at all times and does not have limitations. So you've defined infinity.
That's just misspeaking at that point. Infinity is beyond definition, but within our... So I'm speaking to my own point. Infinity is beyond definition. However, we as humans have to define everything within our perception. And within our perception, infinity is everything. All the time. However, that's just the way that we perceive it. So there are brain states above and below ours because we have a concept for never ending. There's a reason that we have that concept. We didn't just think of that out of the blue and just go, well, that's unproving. They're unprovable. Pi is infinite. Pi is a universal constant. That is one of the building blocks of the entire universe. And it encompasses the concept of infinity. The building blocks of the universe are infinite. Therefore, there are things in the universe which I can see most things being. I can't sit here and give you like a thought out descriptor, or like I can't sit here and define how my phone is going to be infinite, other than just saying that the atoms that build my phone are forever going to be around. They've been around since the beginning of time itself, and they're going to, as far as I can tell, as far as I can measure, keep going. But there is a level beyond which that I can measure. There's a level beyond which of things that I can comprehend. Pi is incomprehensible because it is infinite. And as, like, I'm repeating myself here, but as a building block of the universe itself, that proves that infinity is a concept that builds the universe. So just because we can't currently prove that there are things above and below our brain states doesn't mean that there aren't. It just means that we can only see and use the things within our grasp currently. So, can you bring me back to what started this particular descriptor? Because I did have a point as to why I was talking about infinity.
So we were talking about the solipsism thing. How do you know that? So if you can only know that you exist, and I can only know that I exist, which one of us is the one that exists? And so, because there's a contradiction there. I
think there's a problem with the definition that they're using and the way that they're trying to describe the concept.
Potentially, I mean, because the other thing I was going to say is that another problem with solipsism is, how do you explain if everything is contained within your mind as the sole thing that you know exists, and everything else is a so there's a couple things here. There's the
do they discard everything else outside of their, or what they perceive as their mind?
Generally speaking, yes. The concept is, I can't be sure that you actually exist. I can only be sure. Yes, I can only solitarily be solitarily. I can only be sure that I exist. I cannot be sure that you exist, that my computer exists, according to solipsism. So, and it creates this contradiction where, okay, well, if I can't be sure that you exist, but you can be sure that you exist, well, how does that work? Because I have information that says that you exist. You know that you exist. So we're right back to, okay, so there is external data that comes into validating whether or not something exists. And on top of that, if you don't have, okay, so like for instance, if in order for me to be the sole thing that exists, per solipsism,
you have to be everything.
I have to be everything, and I have to have some mechanism by which my conscious mind doles out information that I otherwise didn't consciously know. What you're suggesting is, I know everything that there is to possibly know forever and always, but at the same time,
and
I
here's
don't
where you're
know...
limiting yourself by a human brain. That's so.
Because it is a fundamental contradiction. This isn't just a human logic thing. This is a literal. I mean, this is the building blocks of empiricism. This is how we know what we know, and we know that empiricism works because it's consistent. So, for instance, and we have to use the rules of rational empiricism to validate anything that might overthrow rational empiricism, because we know that it works consistently.
But, Nick, here's where you're not thinking that we can add to it. It's not everything is finite like that. Like I just said, there's more to comprehend, so that may be what we comprehend here on Earth as humans. But you may be everything. We may be a part of the exact same being. And across the universe, there may be other beings and other homeworlds of other beings that are also under the thought rule of the same entity, and we may know everything all at the same time. My feet can't feel what my fingers feel. So you may not know the things that beings in star systems away may know, but we may literally be under the umbrella of something that does exist infinitely and know everything infinitely and just be different parts of that thing. There's no way for me to prove that
I get what you're saying, but the thing about that is,
and I'm not trying to defend them because it sounds stupid, but I just don't think that
there's.
I think that they're not expanded enough. I think that people are trying to work just within the human brain and not think about, crap, there may be something outside of this. Holy shit.
Well, I get what you're saying, but that something outside is actually one of the biggest problems with solipsism because of that. What is that mechanism? How can you prove that mechanism works? Because you need to explain that in order to have a cogent position for how. And not only do you have to decide, well, which me is the real me in that sense? Like, am I the real soul thing that exists? Are you the real soul thing that exists? Now, or, how do you determine that there is that hive mind to begin with? How do you know that, like this, and I think this kind of goes back to that YIVO thing you were talking about last year, where how do you know that exists? Outside of maybe you had, the way you described it was kind of like a vision, a brain state, when your brain was in distress. And so, okay, so what's more likely? That you were peering into the fundamental fabric of the cosmos and you were being enlightened to some kind of higher truth, or that a dying brain that was oxygen deprived from blood loss was making mistakes in abstractions from what it could cobble together from sense data. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, no, I know where you're coming from with that, but the thing is that we can only prove to ourselves what we can comprehend. So as humans, the only thing that should be important to us is what we can prove to ourselves and what we can comprehend. But as, beings and, citizens of the universe, if something were to happen to question that, we need to be open to expanding the way that we think, look, and act towards things that we don't immediately know what's going on.
Right, and that's why I'm talking about the empiricism thing. It's like, how do you know what you claim to know? You need to be able to demonstrate that. Otherwise, the default position, as a matter of valid epistemology, is I can't accept this as true, because if I accept something as true based on the possibility, and what you're saying is possible.
And that's why we have philosophy.
Right. So if what you're saying is, and I honestly, I consider philosophy a science. It's a metaphysical science, but a science nonetheless, because it's applying.
Yeah, it is researching new things and how to prove new things and how to use those new things for us, but it's just outside of philosophy. Science is what we can view and prove. Philosophy is the version of science that we can't exactly view and prove, but we can speculate.
Right. It's a metaphysical form of science. You're applying the scientific method to abstract concepts.
Yes.
And so this is right. So what you're getting at, yes, that is absolutely potentially true. That yes, there is maybe something more than what we currently understand as far. Yeah, I absolutely. I don't think any empiricist would say.
And we may never be able to prove it because we have human brains.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is that we are technically going beyond the limitations of the human brain when we apply the principles of logic and rational empiricism. Like, something cannot be true and false at the same time, just fundamentally, beyond our ability to perceive it. You can't have something that is both a living being and an ugly shirt at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
So paradoxes are inherently impossible. They're theoretical.
Right. So you can't have a tiger that's also a volcano. You know what I'm saying? Like, a volcano, conceptually, is something that is not a tiger, conceptually. They cannot be the same thing. That's just a matter of physical reality, not just our human brains. we are applying the concepts of...
And that's currently just our provable, viewable physical reality, because we haven't observed it yet.
Yeah.
We can only prove the things that we know of so far, but we have to be open to the things that we view that are brand new to us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess...
and I'm not saying that you're making an argument otherwise. I'm just saying that that's the next step in that explanation.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the you can't have a tiger that's also a volcano, you can't have a square that's also a circle, because these are mutually exclusive concepts.
Yes, exactly.
Right, so the concept of square and circle describe physical things that are not each other, right, fundamentally.
Yes.
So that's not the limitations of our monkey brains, that's just... Our monkey brains are right. That is a provable thing. So, and it goes back to this. Kind of gets back to the valid epistemology thing, which is really the biggest flaw of solipsism. Is we have to be able to prove what we accept to be true. So we can't accept we can't accept the fundamental premise of solipsism as true, because we would need to demonstrate that the things that logically follow from that being true are actually true. For instance, how do you demonstrate that? How do I demonstrate if I can only be sure that I exist, you can only be sure that you exist. I can't be sure that you exist, but you can. You can't be sure that I exist, but I can. We have a contradiction, and we need to be able to work that out. Otherwise, if you're just a figment of my imagination, well, how do I know that? And if I am somehow the one thing that exists, I mean, okay, the hive mind thing. Prove it. That's what, you know what I'm saying? Like, that is itself also a truth claim.
It's also relying completely on consciousness, because something that you have to, keep in mind is there's nothing saying that I can't prove that you exist. So, I'm not trying to feed into them, but let's say I know for a fact that I exist, and I know for a fact that you exist, but there's nothing separating the fact that we may both be part of the same thing. Because for the vast majority of people, and I would be very willing to say 100% of people, breathing is completely subconscious. Blinking is mostly subconscious. Moving your muscles in your tongue is completely subconscious. So why can't existing as one being be a subconscious thing that happens? We are separated by physical limitations, but maybe not some other limitation that we don't currently have the comprehension to tie together.
Okay.
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like, just because there are things that we do subconsciously, and you're trying to prove things specifically through conscious thought and research. So
well, okay, so I guess what we need to look into here is, first of all, which is more likely, that there is a supernatural hive mind that is so far above and beyond anything that we can possibly conceive of or prove, which now we're getting into the same logical problems that the God argument has. And so you need to be able to demonstrate that is actually true, because it is itself a truth claim. You're claiming that the state of reality as it exists objectively is that we have a hive mind that, you know what I'm saying? So what you need to do then is say, okay, how do I demonstrate that is true? And what is more likely? That that's true, or that over 4 billion years of random and non-random mutations, chemical reactions resulted in functionally autonomous reproducing machines that function similarly because they have the same chemical blueprint and the same reactions happen for all of them. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying, but I also think that...
Because we can prove that.
There also may be something that we can't see that does tie us together in a strange way.
Yeah.
And your use of the word supernatural just got to me before I broke it down in my head, and I was like, oh, supernatural, fucking ghosts and werewolves and shit. And then I was like, supernatural is extra natural things that are above our comprehension. Don't be fucking dumb. Obviously, he's not talking about ghosts.
Yeah.
Which actually, so I get where you're coming from, but what you said does lead me into something that I literally wrote down 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of somebody talking about something being unnatural and you actually sit there and think about that? Like unnatural thoughts and this product is unnatural?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it's kind of an oxymoron because...
Unnatural is not a word. There's nothing that can exist that is unnatural.
Yeah, exactly, because anything that exists is part of the natural world.
Yeah, and some people, like, I need to specify this by saying I do not condone anything that I am about to talk about. People are saying that pedophilia is unnatural thoughts, is totally unnatural, and, like, people saying it's unnatural to be gay. It's like, seems that anything that can occur is natural.
Mm-hmm.
Because it comes from nature.
Mm-hmm.
And the nature of things.
Mm-hmm.
And then people are saying, like, I don't want to take any unnatural remedies for A, B, and C thing. I'm like, it seems like those unnatural things are synthesized from natural materials. Man-made just means I put some things together. Like, people still eat chicken soup. Chicken soup is quote-unquote unnatural, I guess. Like, it's an amalgamation of different things put together via a recipe.
Yeah, like my mom has such a hang-up about aspartame, but it's like the only, you know, those flavored sparkling waters. They taste like a decomposing anus. But the only one that I've been able to tolerate is this one that it's like an orange cream one, but it has aspartame in it. And
it's just bitter afterwards.
Yeah, it tastes kind of funky, but it's not a rotting anus. So if I'm going to drink something that tastes a little bit funky but that I can tolerate, and it's not going to overload my system with sugar, and I'm not going to, be damaging my teeth or my fucking, my gallbladder or whatever, like, then okay, I can do that. I'd rather have a man-made chemical that is perfectly safe than a natural chemical that is going to be processed in an unhealthy way within my system, especially given the fact that, I am, especially in the summer, particularly sedentary. I'm not an active person. Like, fall is like my time where I'm like, I kind of want to be outside, but not doing, not like doing hard work or anything like that. Just like, I'll go walk outside or whatever. But like, I have a very limited range of time in which I'm actually comfortable doing that, so I don't do it very often. So, I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with being, like, even if you want to define unnatural as that which does not occur on its own within nature, then okay, aspartame is unnatural, but at the same time...
Yeah, it's a qualifier.
Yeah, right.
I also... I have some really funny conversations with people who don't know anything about nutrition.
Okay.
Because we were grocery shopping the other day, and my brother was telling my dad if he's trying to avoid sugar, to go and eat, A, B, and C fruit. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, so you're telling him he shouldn't have a Pop-Tart or whatever. He should go eat a bunch of grapes. And he goes, yeah, it's much better for you. And I went, sugar is sugar, right?
Right.
I was like...
I do that. I do that with my mom all the time. She'll be like, oh, you should have fruit, not Mountain Dew. And I'm like, the only thing that's changing is the quantity of sugar there.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch
of other stuff. But
example.
But you know what I mean? It's like... So
in that specific example, it's different.
Yeah, it's a little So you know what I mean? It's like, so like if your primary concern is sugar, the only difference is the quantity of it. Like, and if I eat enough fruit,
instead of fruit, it's like don't drink Mountain Dew, drink apple juice.
Yeah.
No, no.
Yeah, it's
Sugar is sugar. And then people go like, well, it's natural sugar that's in fruits and vegetables. I'm like,
all sugar is.
where do you think they get the sugar for soft drinks?
All they do
s-
is they clean and process the sugar that they get from plants and fruit. It's like,
Yeah, it's not that I'm saying that fruits are bad or anything. It's just people have to understand that your body runs on sugar, which turns into fat. So when you tell somebody don't eat sugar, go eat this other sugar, it's like you're not telling them to do anything. If you're going to rewire the way that your body takes in energy, you have to completely rewire your diet so that you take in none of the current thing that is making you uncomfortable. Like,
yeah.
that's exactly what the keto diet does, is you're taking in next to no sugars so that your body runs on other stuff and then it eats the fat. It uses the fat as stored energy before it uses other things. So it eats away the fat first, and then it starts to use the things that you're feeding it, like meats and
Yeah, so you're
pretty much mostly just fucking meats.
yeah, so you're not as hungry normally as you might normally be
100%.
because you're eating yourself basically.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like, yeah, your stomach may be empty, but you still have energy because you are eating your fat reserves. But we are coming dangerously close to a very long time here, but I wanted to tell you one more story that does both relate a little bit to fat and to gender identity.
Oh boy. This is about trans fats?
I wish I had a drum set in front of me.
I had to get at least one dad joke in.
So a couple of years ago, me and a friend went to go see some movie or whatever. I don't remember what movie it was. But we walk into the mall where the movie theater was and walk up to the teller to go buy tickets. And this very obviously male figure with like long, kind of straight, greasy hair, very large human, glasses, a budding beard.
I already know where this is going and I want to die.
Tons and tons of body hair, is standing there with a sticker on their chest that says, "Hello, my name is Emily.
Oh,
my
no.
pronouns are she, her."
Oh, no.
So we buy our tickets, and I look up and I say, "Hey, I really appreciate the fact that you're wearing that. You know, it's not only a brave thing to do for somebody in your position, but also it helps alleviate some of the uncomfortable situations that you might have to go through. Because I don't know what goes on in this person's head. I don't know if, you know, it's traumatic to say he, him, whatever it is, but they chose to wear all of that on a little sticker on their chest. And I'm like, I appreciate that. You know, in the world that we live in, I do appreciate you doing that. So, we go and we see the movie, and then as we're coming back out, Emily's still on their shift. And I walk up, and I shake their hand, and I'm like, hey, just, you know, it's good to meet you. And then she's like, oh, we should swap numbers. And I was like, okay, so this is a situation I'm uncomfortable in, but, I mean, I just kind of praised this person for a minute, so it'd be rude of me not to reciprocate. So, gave him my number, and, like, the next day at work, they start texting me, and we start talking about, like, where our lives are at and stuff like that. And this was just after the Hellbeast left. So I was like, yeah, you know, I'm really not looking for a relationship or, like, to hang out with anybody. I just kind of need some time to just chill and be me and all that sort of stuff. And then the overtly and very aggressively sexual texts and picture messages came in.
Oh, no.
I was at work, and my phone went off like 4 times in a row. And Emily said, hey, we should totally go out and get drinks. I really love getting trashed and sucking dick. And I was like,
Oh my
I looked
god.
at that message and I was like, I specifically told you I wasn't looking for anything with anybody, not just with you. And then 2 horrifyingly blurry pictures. Like, you know, like when you're holding bacon and then you go and touch your phone and it gets on the camera, like the grease gets in the camera and you're looking through a really blurry camera.
I can imagine.
2 pictures with that, like, grainy, blurry look of this person completely and utterly naked with a penis the size of a thumbnail. And then they didn't stop, and I had to block their number.
Oh god.
I thought I was making somebody's day a little bit better, and they turned out to ruin my fucking day.
And you know, and there are so many, just like the first time, there are so many conversation threads that we didn't get back to finishing, but one thing that I did want to bring up, it ties into this, I think, perfectly. That hypothesis that I mentioned, that I have about
Hippopotamus.
that hippopotamus that is different from the one that was texting you.
Oh, shit. All right, let's do this and let's
Yeah. So that hypothesis that I mentioned earlier, and again, like I said, I'm obviously not gonna name drop my therapist, and I'm probably gonna get crucified for even saying any of this, but I know people are gonna say I am no matter what, but obviously understand that there's no malice behind it. There is no transphobia or whatever. I do not care if someone wants to live as the opposite gender of what they are. That's your thing. Fine, and as long as you're a respectable person, more power to you. Do you. But my thing, and what you were talking about with this person, actually I think speaks to that, is what I've noticed is that everyone that I've come across personally who experiences gender dysphoria has had some kind of pre-existing psychological condition, be it chronic depression, PTSD, autism, some pre-existing condition that underlies their dysphoric episodes. Something about their life is so fundamentally out of whack that they have this almost defense mechanism that goes off in their brain and says, the key to not feeling this way is to not be me. There's something wrong with... It's
instant gratification as well.
Partly, yes. But there's this defense mechanism that says the key to this is to not be me. And so what they start to feel is, well, part of me is my gender. So part of not being me...
And I can have control over that.
Huh?
And I can have control over that.
Right. So like what they do is they feel like part of not being me is to not be my gender. There's something wrong with being the gender that I am. It's not right for me. What they do is they conflate an emotional response with an actual physical brain state in a different sense than what an emotion normally is. You know what I'm saying? Like, where it's like an emotion is itself a physical brain state, but it's also like what they're saying to rationalize this feeling to themselves is I literally have the opposite gender's brain in my body. Yeah. So, and again, scientifically, I am made of the chemicals of the other gender. Yeah, so like what they say, you know, I mean, scientifically there are physical differences between male and female brains, but they're not.
It doesn't mean they're not equal. Yeah. I think that's one thing that people forget when they try to quantify stuff like that, is trying to say that, you know, males and females are exactly the same. It's like, fundamentally, no, they're not, but they all deserve to be treated as human.
Right,
regardless.
right. Males.
It's one thing that people forget.
Males and females have equivalent capacity for reason, for morality, for abstract thought. For one might gravitate one way or the other more often, but like there are more men at the higher and lower ends of the intelligence bell curve, but women tend to be very clumped in the middle. But that's not to say that there aren't women at both ends. You know what I'm saying? So like,
yeah, women who are geniuses and women and men who are both straight up dumb.
Oh yeah. So, but this is right. So this is the kind of thing that I'm getting at is that, and I'll be honest, and I'll be kind of blunt here. In exploring my own mental illness, I've noticed some of these thought patterns. I remember we talked about this years ago, is that we both have this tendency to meta-analyze our own thoughts. So we'll be aware, in particular, I'll be very aware that I'm thinking a thought. And I'll be deconstructing that thought as a separate thought process while I'm having the thought. It's this weird kind of, like, I swear to God, I'm like, I have this spider web of hyper-threaded chaos that somehow comes back together as coherent thought, and it just...
Because as a brain, you can process all those tangents while processing the main root.
Yeah, and I know, and I get very and this becomes another thought process, which is why I stutter and stammer and try to qualify so many things into so many different directions all the time, is I'm aware that I know that I sound like I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about because I'm stuttering and stammering, but that's literally just my mouth can't keep up with the thought processes.
Your brain can, your mouth can't.
Yeah, like, so I'm writing a thesis in my head, and my mouth can only do so much. But anyway, my
yeah, and pretty much with any thought outside of "this is orange," that should be how you think.
So yeah, but basically what I'm getting at and in bringing that up is in the meta-analysis of my own, and both on my own privately and in therapy, I've noticed these things. I have that same tendency to not only self-erase, but also to say, I need to not be me. I need to be a different person. I need to, like, I don't take it to where they take it, but I notice that impulse where part of that is, I hate being a guy. It sucks.
Yeah, but it's all in the pursuit of happiness. That's the human condition, is the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, well,
it's not. Well, it's not the pursuit of knowledge or of empiricism or anything. But if those things make you happy, you will pursue them. Mm-hmm. If they don't make you happy, you don't care about them. You just care about, makeup and drills and big trucks and horses and whatever piques your interest. So a lot of people don't think about, the things that you and I do, or the things that just you do, because you think about a lot of things, obviously, that I don't. Yeah. The entire thing that you're just explaining right now is in the pursuit of happiness. How do I feel happy and comfortable and safe? And by saying I don't want to be myself, being a dude sucks, makes you unhappy. Mm-hmm. So your thought process gravitates towards what will make me happy.
Right, and so this is the thing, and this is kind of what I'm getting at here fundamentally is what I'm trying to what you're saying is correct, but also there's that emotional component, that drive to what will make me feel better, but also what I'm trying to get at is my hypothesis is where this kind of thing comes from. So gender dysphoria, I think. Again, I'm not going to say that I would describe anything that I experience in those terms, but it's the general concept that's kind of the same. And so I would never take it to the point where I would say, oh, I need to change myself, I need to not be a guy. No, that's not appropriate for me. But my point is that I have direct experience with the thought process, with the line of thinking that is congruent with other people who take these things a bit further, who express these same patterns, these same, not necessarily these same brain states, but these same lines of thinking, these same emotional experiences, these same cognitive maladies, to put it a more mild way than what people might
Yeah,
take exception
you
to.
can kind of get on board with them and understand where these things are coming from because of your own personal experience.
Right, and so this kind of leads me to my hypothesis that I think gender dysphoria is in and of itself symptomatic of a deeper ailment. So
Yeah, it's the symptom, it's not the disease, quote unquote.
right, so I mean, gender dysphoria is something that obviously is not supposed to happen. It is, technically speaking, a mental illness, but that's not to say that anyone who has it is defective. There's something morally wrong with you. No, there's nothing at all. That's not to say that at all. What I'm getting at is it's indicative of something much deeper going on, and you notice this in the behavior patterns, I think, of a lot of people who experience this, that they tend to be very hyper emotional, very defensive, very erratic,
And very impulsive.
impulsive, yes, very poor people skills. I also notice,
Yeah.
very
And very, like I was saying earlier, instant gratification. They want to try to figure out, I'm feeling this right now, I need to fix this one thing right now, rather than looking at, well, what could cause this thing? It's like having how do I quantify that? Because I was gonna say it's like having your foot nailed to a stump, and then you're saying, well, that really hurts, so maybe I should take some painkillers.
right.
Rather than saying, "Whoa, man, in the long run, I should probably get this nail out of my fucking foot so I can walk again."
Right, exactly. So this is kind of what I'm getting at is, that's going to be my catchphrase. So this is the thing is, what I think is going on is that these people who experience gender dysphoria, it's a symptom for a greater, deeper rooted malady, something that is really making them unsatisfied and uncomfortable in their own life and with who they are. And generally speaking, I think that might have to do with like some kind of a negative family experiences. I've also noticed a lot of people they tend to have very abusive parents, which some people might focus in on. Well, they're abusive because they don't accept that their kid is trans. It's like, well, wait a minute. But people who are going to
before we
let me just finish this thought. So people who are going to abuse their kid for finding out they experience gender dysphoria, as opposed to lovingly helping them feel better, not just coddling the sensation. I just mean like,
but teaching.
Let's actually look at this and understand what's going on here, so we can maybe help you feel better. Maybe transitioning isn't the key to making you feel better. Maybe there's something else going on, and because we care about you as your parents, we want to help you no matter what. That would be good parenting. But so if someone's parents would do the opposite of that and abuse them for experiencing what they experience, then obviously they're not good parents to begin with. Obviously they are abusive parents to begin with, because they have that impulse where my child is hurting psychologically, let me hurt them more. That's absurd. So
yeah, a lot of parents will take that by saying like, you're telling me I'm a bad parent and I'm doing all that I can right now, and I'm just going to take my frustration out on you.
Mhm.
Because they don't know how to communicate.
Yeah.
They don't know how to understand that not everything is a criticism of them.
yeah, and I'll be
Not every experience you have as a child is a criticism of your parents.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, because the log has to fall somewhere, and so if your kid is experiencing psychological trauma, and it comes from your relationship with them, the log falls on you as the parent, not your kid, because you are responsible morally for the psychological and physical well-being of your child. You have the ultimate moral responsibility as the person who involuntarily caused this person to exist and set the circumstances for their life. You have the ultimate moral responsibility to do right by them under any and all circumstances.
Yeah, and just before anybody may listen to this and think what we were saying about being like having a deep-rooted cause, for the dysmorphia and the feeling of, being trans, I need to put out there that I know where you're coming from 100%, and neither of us are trying to convey any thoughts that might say, if you if you look back and try to deal with other problems, then you wouldn't be trans or you wouldn't have body dysmorphia or anything. It's just that a lot of people feel a certain way and jump at the quickest thing that might fix their
dysphoria,
their feelings.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the things outside of your dysmorphia need to be dealt with as well. So you need to, as Jordan Peterson says, you need to clean your room.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Then you'll know if, like, and people try to say, like, you can't go against my lived experience. I'm like, you haven't lived your full experience, though. You need to clean your room, and then you will know if transitioning or identifying in a certain way is for you, or if there was an underlying cause that made that feel like it was the escape, the paradise, the thing that you really wanted in the moment.
Absolutely.
Because I know so many people who used to identify as trans, or used to identify as non-binary, or any of the number of things, and I can name drop a bunch of them because a lot of them are actually very famous online back when Tumblr was a big thing, and now they are not identifying as that because they cleaned their room. And what they realized was that they were trying to be a part of a community that was not there.
Yeah. And because they didn't feel whole, and so they were looking for something that would help make them feel whole. And again, and like you were saying, this is not a definitive thing. This is a hypothesis, and that's why I qualify it as being a hypothesis, because this is something I've observed over many years. I've looked at a lot of the people, especially the most rowdy and rambunctious and vitriolic people, and I noticed that they are very discontented with a lot of other things, and they have a lot of irrational impulses and a lot of invalid thought processes. And I'm not, and what I don't mean by that oh, your gender dysphoria is invalid. In some cases, for some people, it may be, but
that's not a bad thing. It just means that you haven't thought
you are not
your standpoint.
Right, exactly. So people do not inherently know themselves all the way through, or what's best for themselves all the way through. That's why therapy is a thing. That's why talk therapy is a thing, because there are things about me that, look, not to toot my own horn, I know I'm a smart guy, and I know that I'm good at philosophy and psychology, but at the same time, when you're on the inside, when you're in your own head, it's a fucking war zone, and you can't keep yourself straight sometimes. And so you need somebody else who's trained in sifting through all of that to look at you objectively, externally.
And give you a hand.
Right, exactly. And to guide you. We don't always know ourselves. We don't always have perfect self-knowledge. And that's one of the fundamental tenets of philosophy, is to have self-knowledge. You cannot understand reality unless you understand yourself. So, and again, so that's, again, this is just a hypothesis, but it's one based on something that I've observed for a long period of time from a large number of people, and that also, I think, fits with a lot of principles that are consistent and valid. So it's kind of the way I look at the whole gender dysphoria thing, and I think it's unfortunate that just by saying this, I'm opening myself up to being absolutely crucified, and nobody is even going to want to hear me say what I have to say, and I'm not even allowed to have the conversation. I have to just walk in lockstep, accept everything that they say, or I'm a bad person.
So before you get into that stuff, I don't subscribe to being made a victim from those things. I'm gonna speak my mind because obviously we've thought these things through. We've observed these things over a vast amount of people, and we don't have that cancel type mindset to these things. We want everyone You and I truly want everybody to feel happy, comfortable, and safe. But sometimes the way that people think that they're happy, comfortable, and safe is by being miserable all the time and calling people out and quote-unquote canceling people. It's like, that is not happy for you. That's not comfortable for you. You may feel safe because you can rid your community of things that you don't want in it, but you're not happy and you're not comfortable, and we want you to feel happy and comfortable. So anybody listening to this that may try to, and I hope you're listening to this length, you know? Anybody who may be listening to this, I want you to know that both of us at the end game want you to be okay. It's not about whether we're right or wrong or any of this stuff. It's about opening up a discussion rather than closing things off and saying you can't do this or you can't say this because A, B, and C. Like, we have to have this discussion if we're going to make a world where everyone can feel okay. And that's what we want, is for everybody to be able to one day feel okay as themselves. No matter who you are, you can be anybody in the entire world, you can be anything in the entire world. As long as you're okay, that is our goal.
Yep.
And I think that's a good spot to end this particular episode-ish.
Yeah, I will just say one more thing on that. The way that I go about this is, I understand that reality can be a harsh bitch. That there are a lot of times where the truth is probably the most uncomfortable, unpalatable thing that you could possibly imagine. And especially when you're already dealing with a lot of emotional difficulty, you don't want any more of that. And you want to defend yourself from the truth. You want to vilify the truth and anyone who's trying to bring it to you as being out to get you, out to hurt you, being a bigot, being against you. And the reality is that while I'm not insensitive to those feelings, I get it, and I do sympathize because in so many ways I've been there. You cannot solve a problem. No matter how much you think you cannot solve a problem without the truth. Because without the truth, you're not actually addressing the problem that exists in reality on reality's terms. If you don't have the truth, then what you think you're doing to solve a problem is addressing something that is not accurate to the way things really are.
Clean your rooms.
Yeah, you have to clean your room.
Clean up the things behind you in your life that you haven't been addressing or that you feel like you can't address. You know, if your room's dirty because of your parents, you know, your parents don't want to address you as A, B, and C, then what you have to do is, your room is now in your head. You know, you have to change your perception of these things. You have to change your perception of why you think that your parents need to have a hold on your happiness. Your room is wherever the problem lies. It's not. We're not being physical here and saying clean your bedroom.
Although it can help.
Clean your room it definitely will order your thought processes by cleaning your bedroom.
It helped me.
Do that first, and then think about. I've been thinking about this for days. I haven't done it yet, but I have been thinking about this for days. I will be on my drive home and think about go home and clean your bedroom. You dumb fuck. But identify where the problem begins. Start from step 1. Figure out what the actual problem is. If you cannot dial a problem back further, then you're at step 1. But if you're saying, so if you look at hunger, you're saying, oh man, my stomach's growling. Well then, you don't just accept that as my stomach is growling. You say, why is my stomach growling? And then you think, well, I must be hungry. I feel hunger. Well, why do I feel hunger? Well, the last time I ate was last night. Okay, so if the last time I ate was last night, I must not have anything left in my stomach. Okay. So if I don't have anything left in my stomach, what do I do to alleviate the feeling of hunger? As I find something and I eat it. Like, everything has that extra step. And the way that I used to describe this to people is, if you turn the screw and it's not tight enough yet, get a couple more threads to go. Keep turning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I will just say that, what you said about, it's not about us being right or wrong. That's correct. It's not about being right or wrong. As a philosopher, I want to know if I'm wrong about something, because in finding out that I'm wrong about something, I now get to be right about something. And that's more important. Having that more accurate model of reality is more important to me than, I told you so, I was right.
Being correct in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Having that satisfaction of being correct in the moment over somebody else, or having just a feeling that I'm correct in the moment, that's not as valuable as actually being correct and being confident, to where there are plenty of things like, and again, just to use an example, the Sword Art Online thing. I am confident in my position that it is objectively an excellent series, and I am not bothered or intimidated by people who say otherwise. I get a little annoyed because I'm tired of hearing the same unsubstantiated nonsense.
Same rhetoric.
Yeah, and so Kirito's Gary Stew, incest, blah blah blah. Like, just shut up. But you see, that's my thing is not, I'm threatened by this and I have to be right to feel better. It's just, I know that I'm right. The evidence backs me up. I'm just tired of hearing the crap, right? So that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, well, and that should be the call sign for this is, I'm tired of hearing the crap.
Yeah.
Enough excuses. Get your ass in gear. The world can't hand you everything, but you know what? The vast majority of the world is here to back you up. The second that you start taking that first step to make everything feel a little bit better in your life is the second that everybody picks you up under your armpits and helps you walk up those fucking stairs, man.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to take the first step and let us know that you want to try.
Yeah.
We got your back.
To relate this back to the old phrase, which kind of goes into what we were talking about before we started recording with the biblical stuff, is God helps those who help themselves.
Exactly.
And
all right, my friends.
Yep. So
we will. We'll see you next week.
Yep. And if anybody,
we've had a good time rambling, and I'm sorry I keep interrupting Nick because he has important stuff to say, but I just wanted to say thank you. From me, this is goodbye, and from Nick, this is another sentence.
Yeah, I was just going to say that if anybody wants to talk to us directly in a call, pop into my Discord server, let me know, and we will set something up. And because we are on your side. We want to help you be better. We want to help you use reason and evidence and get to a point where you have a more solid understanding of reality, including a more solid understanding of yourself and how best to help yourself out of any circumstances that might be hurting you. It's a process that I'm still in the middle of. It's a process that Shane is still in the middle of. We are not perfect. We just are doing the best we can, and we are pretty sure that we've got a good methodology for going about this. So
we want to make sure that we help you do the best you can. So if you want to give us a hand in figuring some of that stuff out, just let us know. We'll get you in the Discord, and if you feel comfortable recording, be part of the show. And obviously you don't have to share any personal information with us, but we can try to give you a hand, and in doing so you may help some.
Absolutely. Yep.
We encourage this stuff.
Yeah,
so.
And that's what I got from Stefan Molyneux calling shows, and so I want to pay that forward anywhere I can. So yeah,
100%. And my support network that helped me start recovering was all my friends and family, and we want to be friends and family with you guys. So we'll do that, and we'll see you guys next week. Later, taters. The secret of the universe is to shove your recording microphone way up there, Morty. Get him way up there for Grandpa Morty. He needs those seeds, Morty. You just gotta get him way up there, Morty.